City Council meeting this evening on the 28th of October of the year 2025. I'd like to excuse Councilmember Barker, who I believe is going to join us by Zoom. He represents the city on the County Mosquito Board, and they're in some training this week, so we will excuse him. And thank you for being with us this evening. Our invocation and/or thought, or both, and the Pledge of Allegiance this evening will be the responsibility of Councilmember Watson. Councilmember Watson.
Thank you. This past weekend, a family member of some really good friends of mine passed away. Don F. Colvin was the mayor previously here in North Ogden, and he served on the Planning Commission as well, and on City Council as a City Council member from 1976 to 1982, and then as mayor from 1982 to 1986. He also served as the chairman of the Weber Area Council of Governments and the member of board of directors at the Utah League of Cities and Towns. He was 98 years old, and he lived in North Ogden for 58 years. So I just want to recognize the great efforts that he put in and how much better our city is for the efforts of one person. I've recently been reading a book about President John F. Kennedy, and his famous quote comes to mind thinking about this mayor, John F. Colvin. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And it doesn't have to be an elected official position, but anything that our community can give and put together, combined efforts can make our city better, and not just for yourself, but for the whole community, it can make it better. So that's my thought for today. Will you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
of the United States government and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much, Councilmember Watson. I appreciate that, and we'll miss Mayor Colvin. He's an important part of our city, and it's good to see that mayors can live till they're 98. So, on top of that, tonight we have a presentation that I saw at our WACOG meeting regarding creating change so Utah women, girls, and families can thrive. And we appreciate you being with us tonight. So we'll go ahead and have you give a little presentation. I think maximum limit of 15 minutes, I believe. So we're grateful you're with us.
I just want to start by saying I just came from the Family Promise ribbon cutting, which is, I'm not a Girl Scout troop leader. This is the Chamber of Commerce, but we had a ribbon cutting and they made some remarks about North Ogden and how influential and amazing that you all have been in support of Family Promise. So just wanted to start with that. My name is Danielle Nevesalov. I work at United Way of Northern Utah, and I get to work with Weber Communities That Care here in also in North Ogden. And I'm here today as a representative of the Boulder Way Forward, and grateful for Mayor Berube, who saw our presentation earlier this month and invited us to come and share with you all an exciting opportunity for your city. And so I do have some slides here. By raise of hands, are any of you familiar with the Boulder Way Forward, the movement in Utah currently? Well, I know Mayor Berube, but no one else is quite familiar yet. Well, that's exciting. I hope that this will resonate well. This is a great city with lots of amazing things. I'm slightly biased because of Weber Communities That Care, and I know the great work and the amazing youth. I mean, just seeing how many youth are here today, this is a pretty cool city council meeting to get to present at. So want to just start off by saying that. So a Boulder Way Forward is a statewide movement, 7-year plan to help kind of bridge the gap for women, girls, and families in Utah. National and statewide studies do continue to show that women and girls in Utah are not necessarily thriving in all critical areas. Although the needle is slightly moving, its trajectory would take about 3 to 4 decades to make notable significant progress. So A Bolder Way Forward is a framework to try and build more collaboration amongst our organizations, our communities, and trying to move that needle forward together. So A Bolder Way Forward wants us to lift Utah women's and girls, which will lift all Utahns. You can click a few more times there. So this is the Bolder Way framework, and I'm realizing you can't really read it on your small screens here, so I can send this out post the meeting. But essentially, the Bolder Way framework is split up into various different categories. And so you'll see here it's quite in depth. We have education, workplace, community engagement, health and well-being, and safety and security. And then under each of those are various different subcategories of areas where we can work together to improve outcomes for women, girls, and families. So we also have these spokes that kind of represent in all of them. And the idea of this is for grassroots initiatives to work and build upon each other, being able to bring in leaders in each community in each of these areas to help represent and share the great things that are already happening, the concerns they may be seeing, and opportunities for improvement and collaboration. So I just wanted to share a few quick examples. We have one county that is their K through 12 spoke under education. It's currently focusing on increasing girls' math scores because their county math scores are significantly lower. We have one county that's focusing on sexual assault by bringing in multiple organizations that are working on addressing that issue together so that they can create collective goals and collective outcomes that they can strive for as a group. And we have another city who's working on internal workplace reviews. So identifying questions of how to create inclusive spaces. Some of the things they've identified is rooms and spaces for privacy breastfeeding to encourage more moms in the work field, family bonding leave for both parents, and also on-site daycare for some schools or for some workplaces in their county. Those are just a few examples. Statewide, there's so many examples of great things that are happening. I encourage you to look at our website, which we'll link at the end for some more examples as well. Some goals and outcomes on the next slide. The overarching goal of Bolder Way Forward is to make Utah a place where more girls and women can thrive in any setting. So there's not a specific metric we can use to measure all of it at once, and that is why we're breaking it down into all the subcategories to try and create more achievable goals. As we continue to locate and track national and state data, all aspects of this are being tracked by the Utah Women in Leadership Project at Utah State University. And so this is the backbone organization of the movement. And you might have heard of it by Dr. Susan Madsen. She's quite popular with her research and her work with Utah Women in Leadership Project. So this is part of her faculty research on societal impact at the Huntsman School of Business within USU. And they are designated as a 501c3 nonprofit organization for this initiative during the entirety of the study and efforts. So the three main goals and areas of focus that I just want to highlight: producing relevant, trustworthy, and applicable research, creating and gathering valuable resources, which I include people as resources, our best resources, and three, convening trainings and events to inform, inspire, and ignite growth and change for all Utahns. So essentially, decrease violence, close gaps, and increase opportunity. And there's a quote here on the next slide that we like to include. I liked your quote from John F. Kennedy as well. This one's from Martin Luther King Jr. and states, "Every society has its protectors of status quo and its fraternities of the indifferent, who are notorious for sleeping through revolutions. Today, our very survival depends on our ability to stay awake, adjust to new ideas, and remain vigilant in the face the challenge of change." So what does this look like in Utah? We have 8 Utah cities and counties already adopted the Bolder Way Forward resolutions. You'll see in your handout, this is information regarding what that program looks like. These resolutions send a strong signal of support for improving the lives of Utah girls and families. And also, I would add, help highlight the great things your cities are already doing and help give ideas for other cities to be able to implement as well. They unite community leaders around common goals and help secure resources, partnerships, and accountability. So the counties currently that have adopted are Carbon County, Salt Lake County, and San Juan County. And then the cities, West Valley City, Midvale, North Logan, North Salt Lake, so Davis County, and Mill Creek. So you'll see North Ogden would essentially be the first city in Weber County to get to pass a resolution with Boulder Way Forward. And there's a few ways you can do that. Sorry, can you go back one? There you go. Thank you. So a couple examples, North Logan City, their resolution was affirming commitment to support Boulder Way Forward. And then North Salt Lake adopted a resolution recognizing the importance of women's equality and endorsing our goals as Boulder Way Forward. And there's various other examples on the website of different versions of this. So making something that fits your city and what you want that to look like. And if that is something that you're interested in doing, our Boulder Way Forward state team can come out, give a presentation, present a certificate, put the city on our webpage and social media to recognize you for your work, as well as a committed partner on the website. So my call to action today on the next slide is to pass a resolution in support of Boulder Way Forward to become an official partner and demonstrate to making Weber County and the cities within it a place where women, girls, and families thrive. So we can work together to create a resolution that fits your city and then move forward. And I just wanted to share a few more things before I go to questions on what Weber County looks like right now for Boulder Way Forward. On the next slide, we just have a few pictures. We've had two big events, one at the statewide Boulder Way Forward conference where we had 56 individuals from Weber County attend. And then another one we held at United Way of Northern Utah where we had a breakfast with almost over 65 individuals from the organization to come and learn about Boulder Way Forward and express their interest in collaborating. So we are picking up movement. We do have a QR code here for our new member placement form. So we are just barely starting to get, people into these different spokes. We're getting some representatives in each area, and then they'll start creating groups to start, with some action items, some goal setting, that kind of thing. And so would really love to see some representation from this area on that in those initiatives. And then the next slide is a QR code. And again, we can send this out following. You don't have to scan it right now, which has all the links to everything Boulder Way Forward, and highly encourage you to read a little bit more about it. And our very last slide is our social media links. And there's two newsletters you can subscribe to, Utah Women and Leadership Project, which is more research-based, as well as a Boulder Way Forward, which highlights all of the fun activities and events and engagement with a Boulder Way Forward initiatives. Thank you so much for your time. I would love to talk with any of you one-on-one following this if you have additional questions, but I think I have time for a few quick questions.
Council, any questions? Daniel, I guess the question I would have, it's nice to pass a resolution, but I think it would be good for the council to understand what kind of action they can take and what type of action the community can take
Absolutely.
to help this movement. We have a larger than normal attendance tonight. And the council, I think, if they kind of watch the report that comes from our police department, many of us here may think, oh, North Ogden doesn't have a problem with domestic violence, or North Ogden doesn't have a problem with sexual abuse. As council members, we get to see what's been happening. Every shift we get a report. I think the council gets that. Showing what's taking place. And not that my memory is the best, but I would say there's a large number of domestic violence calls in our community, much more than I thought. And as we all know, that's probably one of the most dangerous calls, I think, Lieutenant Long, that our officers go on. So I think some emphasis on that. And, I just happened to drop into the police department the other day, and they were arresting an individual for sexual assault in our city. So these things are real, and they take place. And I think this is a huge difference, council, that we can make in our community if we can concentrate on helping people overcome these challenges in their life. So Daniel, maybe after or whatever, you could kind of help us understand what action may be helpful in this movement, because we surely want to see our entire community, thrive. So
yeah, I appreciate that. And it's nice to hear that you've already recognized some opportunities for your community. I appreciate that. That takes a lot of, mindfulness. And so one of the first steps that we're taking as Boulder Way Forward on the community level, and so Weber County wide, is doing a community mapping and assessment. And so we'll be going through to identify like what already exists in our communities, what's available, what resources are there, who are our key leaders, getting them in place in the spokes, like with that member placement that I mentioned, and then identifying what are the needs. And so running reports to understand data regarding what is the domestic violence look like in Weber County, what areas are there for improvement, and if there are any other opportunities there as well. And so doing some community mapping and better understanding the community and the needs would be the first step, and then working to create some collective goals together. And you wouldn't be alone in that. We have a statewide team that can help with that. So.
Councilmember Pulver?
So it did come to mind of, so you said your organization's 501(c)(3), is that what you said?
Yes, Boulder Way Forward is.
Okay. And so that is part of the partnership a contribution, or how does that, is it?
That's a great question. If you are volunteering actively with the organization, you can count volunteer hours as an in-kind donation. We have a lot of members that are volunteering on behalf or representing their organizations. And so, like, for example, I work at United Way of Northern Utah, and our president and CEO said this is incredibly important to us. Can you go and represent us in this initiative? Which I felt very grateful for. And so for me, I spend the time on the clock as United Way, and Boulder Way Forward recognizes that, like on the Boulder Way Forward website, they recognize the volunteer hours that United Way is doing. And so you can choose if it's an individual or a staff, as a representative of an organization as that.
Yeah, and I think where I was going is that we would add them to the list, and then they could go to events for not free, but they would be
And make
part of the
one
city.
our partners.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
okay.
we have-
I just wanted to make sure that was, because that would be the next step, I would think, is one of the not initiatives, but in addition to the resolution, that we could add them so that they would be able to do things without cost from the city.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
I
would
think
be
that could be
wonderful.
part of a resolution that they're adopted into
Okay.
the city's partners. Any other
Great
questions?
suggestion. Thank you.
Councilmember Severing?
What was your first name?
Danielle.
Danielle. Okay, Danielle. So I'm kind of with the mayor. I'm trying to, it's one thing to propose a resolution. I would love to maybe invite you to come back
Absolutely.
and give us some ways that we can actually do this. I mean, what could we encourage in schools? What could we encourage in the city? How do we do that? Do we put as you travel along Washington, do we put banners up recognizing assisting and helping women and young ladies? So I guess what I'm looking for is happy to do a resolution. I actually used to be on the board of Family Promise, so I know what good Family Promise does. But I want to know the next step. I want you to come back to us and say, here's some things that could be done at the schools. Here's some things that could be done at the city. Would you do that for us?
Yeah, I think if I may, I think the idea of having the resolution first is kind of a commitment for your city to be in connection with a Boulder Way Forward. And then that work would happen after in a collaboration, because every community in Weber County is so completely different of what they're experiencing, what their needs are. And myself, as someone who does not live or work in North Ogden, I don't know what those are. So we would need to work together and, assess, maybe survey some residents and start working as a collective with other members of the Boulder Way Forward and community, and trying to kind of use the resolution to help get some more individuals involved so that we can hear from them and work and collaborate with them to create real change in their community.
Okay, so I would invite you then to do the research about North Ogden and then bring back. I don't think anybody here would have a problem doing a resolution for it. But maybe this is what we've learned about North Ogden. This is where we have to own our gaps. Would you be willing to do that?
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, I definitely would be happy to go back and
Excellent.
see what opportunities there are. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions? Daniel, thank you. And if you could maybe provide to our city manager.
One more comment.
Oh,
Thank you.
No,
he's,
I was
thought-
just going to say great presentation. Thank you. Sorry.
I couldn't see you there. Councilmember Severing was leaning forward there. See you. Daniel, thank you so much. And if you could maybe provide to our city manager, Mr. Call, who's on the end here, some of the resolutions, maybe, so he can look at those and see what makes sense. So I'm going to take a little prerogative here. We have a pretty good crowd. How many of you here, by raise of hand, know the safe space we have for individuals who may be in a domestic violence situation or some type of other situation? Who knows what is here? So we have 4, 5 maybe here. So, I mean, even educating on that, because what we have here, if someone is in need, the external doors are generally open. And we have here, they close automatically and lock if a button's pushed and will connect to the police department. So someone who's under distress can come in here and be safe because the door's locked behind them and they have a direct connection to the police department. And that's just right outside as you enter into the building. And we intentionally built that into our facility, knowing that there would and is a need for that. But even that, I don't know how many people in our community know that, if they were in need of that, if it was a domestic violence situation or something else. So there's a lot of educational things too, I think, that could take place. Danielle, thank you. We'll look forward to hearing back from you with some of the questions that Councilmember Severing and Councilmember Pulver had, and
Thank
we'll
you.
look forward to helping.
Appreciate your time and thank you for being willing to hear me
Yeah.
out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, council, we'll move into our consent agenda at this point in time. As normal, our city recorder sent out the agenda to you by Thursday evening. You've had a chance to look at that. Is there any conflicts of interest or concerns you have that should be discussed at this point in time? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to item number 3. And this is a discussion and an action needed to approve the October 7th, 2025 City Council meeting minutes. I think you've also had a chance to review those and make any corrections with Ryan. Is there anything further that needs to be discussed? Not what I would look for a motion and to approve the October 7th, 2025 City Council meeting minutes.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the October 7th, 2025 council meeting minutes.
Thank you, Councilmember Watson. Do we have a?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Pulver. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
John, is Councilmember Barker with us?
He is.
I said aye.
Yeah.
Okay, John must have had you muted there. All right. See, is Dylan here? Did I see Dylan? Oh, there he is. How could I miss him? Dylan is with us tonight to talk about 2 things: the conditional acceptance of the subdivision improvements at Hall Orchard subdivision, and then he'll follow up with a final acceptance of subdivision improvements at Montgomery Farms. Dylan?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Starting off is the subdivision Hall Orchard. It's a 17 lot subdivision that was recorded in April of 2022. The improvements include storm drain, a detention basin, sewer, water, sidewalks, curb and gutter, and the roadway. All the improvements are up to the city code and standards, and it's the recommendation for conditional acceptance and to start the 1-year warranty process for those improvements.
Okay, any questions for Dylan? That's a little bit longer time than we normally look, 3 years, basically.
I've sent very many emails all the time trying to get the improvements done, and they are now done. So, or we're paid. The one that's outstanding is a street light. They're very hard to get ordered and get installed, but that we got bids, the checks paid, so we're gonna get that street light installed instead of waiting longer.
Thanks, Dylan, for your persistence.
Wiki will.
Some are just a little bit harder to work with than others, but we appreciate your efforts.
I have a question.
Yes, Councilmember Dalpez.
I was just curious what the status is of the detention basin. I understand that it will be turned over to the city at some point, and it was kind of struggling with being mowed and taken care of this summer. So any update on that?
So that was one of the reasons we wouldn't come to the city council meeting until it was mowed and looking better. We mowed it for the first time last week, I believe. But when it was 2, 3 feet high, we weren't going to go and take on that work. So it is now going to be the city's responsibility to mow and maintain it. We got a check from the developer to reseed it a second time and make it look better right as the water was going off. So this spring, we should be able to get that work done.
Awesome, thanks.
Any other questions for Dylan? Okay, who is the developer on this?
I believe Blackburn and Jones.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Did you raise your hand, Councilmember Pulver?
Nope, I'm just,
Okay. All right, then we would need a motion to approve the conditional acceptance of the subdivision improvements at Hall Orchard subdivision. Have a motion?
Mayor, I motion that we accept or approve the conditional acceptance of subdivision improvements at Hall Orchard subdivision.
Okay.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Pulver and a second by Councilmember Dalpass. Any further questions? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Let's go on to item number 5, which is the final acceptance of subdivision improvements at Montgomery Farms.
Thank you again. Montgomery Farms is just south of the North Shore facility, next to Patriot Point and the existing subdivision that was on the south side. It's a 35 lot subdivision from August 2022. We came to the city council and got conditional approval in November of 2023 and are now back because all the improvements from the final punch list are done. There was some slurry sill, approximately 200 feet of curb and gutter, and the landscaping in a cul-de-sac and the detention basin on the corner of 150 East that was like 10 feet high had to get cleaned up before we would be able to recommend final approval for these improvements. It is the recommendation of the city engineer, Eric Casperson, to approve and finally accept the subdivision improvements. North Ogden City would take over the responsibility for the improvements now.
And who is the developer here?
This is Century Communities,
You've never heard of them.
John Coleman.
Okay. All right, so everything's in place, ready to go for final approval?
Had to get them to do some landscaping and they got it done last Thursday.
Good job, Dylan. Any questions for Dylan? All right, we'd look for a motion then for final acceptance of the subdivision improvements at Montgomery Farms. Councilmember Severin?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I approve, or I move that we approve the final acceptance of subdivision improvements at Montgomery Farms.
Thank you, Councilmember Severin. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Watson. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Dylan.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate all you do. All right, we'll enter into our active agenda now, which is entails public comments as our first item. For those of you who are here for the first time that would like to comment, let me just review our public comments rules. First of all, we would ask you to step up to the podium and state your name, and if you're a resident of North Ogden. We then ask you to limit your comments to no longer than 5 minutes. And you do the mayor a big favor so he doesn't have to interrupt you if you would stay within that time frame. I think maybe we should put covering the pool on more often. get the attendance here. So with that, we would invite those who would like to comment this evening to step up to the podium and once again state your name and if you're a resident of North Ogden.
Hello, Council. I am Oliver Arrowwood. I reside in currently Pleasant View, Utah. I am a student here at Weber High and a member of their swim team and swim program. I'm here today to speak on the pool. So, several things. Having an enclosed pool would definitely and most certainly help with commutes at the late day evenings when many people cannot get out from their after their jobs and when they need to come home. It reduces the commute to pools and other areas quite sizably, where many people from several swim teams like the Piranha swim team have to commute more than 30 minutes all the way down to South Ogden to go in and participate in swim teams. It also allows for higher rates of activity but in members of the community because that, well, lower commute. Many teams such as ours have to pay a large sum of money to go in and go rent out pools for our swim teams and water polo teams and more. And having a pool locally and having it be much closer and a very close very close distance to the high school may allow for the high school to hopefully figure out a better deal for the swim team and for these other teams to come in and come take their places there in Ogden, also bringing in more money to the community pool to hopefully improve its athletics and all the facilities surrounding it, allowing many members of the community to have better amenities. That is all that I have for y'all. Thank you very much.
Thanks, you.
Hello, my name is Camden Law. I'm 16 years old and I'm a resident of Pleasant View City, and I've been a resident since 2014. I'm here to support the idea of making North Shore Aquatic Center a year-round facility. I've been swimming with Piranha Swim Team since I was 9, and I've been using this pool for recreation with my family and for competitive swimming for a long time. I really enjoyed the facility and what it offers to our community. And I'm also a seasonal employee and have worked as a cashier and a lifeguard at the swimming pool for the last 3 years now. My reasons for supporting the year-round use of the pool include my desire to use the pool for personal recreation as well as my local swim team and school team. Currently, Weber High is swimming at Ben Lomond High School, and I leave my house before 5 a.m. every single day during our swim season, which goes October to February, in order to swim at Ben Lomond. And these are some of the worst driving months of the year. And it would be much safer for the entire team, I think, to have a local pool. My comp swim team is currently swimming in South Ogden at the South Ogden Athletic Club, which is even further away. And while covering the pool is a good idea and would be beneficial, I've been to multiple events in Clearfield as well as Bountiful, where they now have full-size recreation centers with multiple pools and multiple other recreation facilities combined in a place where similar smaller community pools once existed. These facilities seem to be thriving and provide excellent services to their local communities. I do not think North Ogden City should have to front the cost of covering the pool themselves. I think the surrounding cities could participate in covering the upfront cost. And my dream would be for the North Ogden Aquatic Center to become a full-size recreation center with multiple pools and multiple other facilities for the city and for other surrounding cities to enjoy as well. There's nothing like that in Weber County or Box Elder, and I think that multiple county and multiple city agreement could be made to form a full-size recreation center that would be even more beneficial than just covering the pool. And I'd be happy to support any team in researching how this could be done if there's any desire to move forward with the movement in the area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sam Wayman. I swim for the Weber High Swim Team and the Piranha Swim Team. And I would like to talk on the
Are you a resident here or?
I live in Huntsville, Utah, but all of my swimming is done in North Ogden, of which I spend over 13 hours a day down here. So technically, I should say I could say I live here. So I would like to cover the beneficial, the money factor, which I understand is a problem. And I read through the paper and on the website, and I was under the impression that 50 people per week would be would cover the cost beneficial for the $300,000 for the bubble, of which the Piranha Swim Team alone would cover just about half over the summer alone. And people in the surrounding area being able to have younger people who struggle to swim with the high school team may be able to swim with the Piranha Swim Team. And people who are in middle-aged and aren't in high school anymore would definitely go and swim there if they had the chance to during the school year. And that would cover the costs most definitely over 50 a week, in my personal humble opinion. Thank you.
Just to clarify, I think the 50 people was towards operating costs, not the actual capital cost to cover it, just to clarify.
Yeah, but I think it would be somewhere closer to 120,000 in the summer.
Good.
Oh my God, 120 in the
That'll
summer.
be good. So you guys can raise the money. That's awesome.
I think that it would definitely raise money
Perfect.
from the North Shore facility.
Okay.
Hello, my name's Jenny Carson and I live in Far West. My daughter swims at Fremont High School. She's a junior this year. She'd be here with me, but she's on her way back from Ogden High from her practice. It's really unfortunate that Weber School District doesn't have a pool and that we are looking to you guys to help our teams have somewhere to practice and to swim. She does swim off for Piranhas also, and North Shore is her favorite pool to swim at. So she's here during the summer. We would just, I read through also the additional papers with the research and I don't know what our school district pays Ogden School District, but we do pay a rental fee. And so maybe that would also be something that you could look at to help offset the costs of running the pool year round. But also as, someone who uses your pool in the summer with my other children, it would be nice to have some other recreational opportunities throughout the winter for all of our family, whether that's water aerobics or just practice or other opportunities there. So where you already have the pool, please take some additional consideration for operating at 24 hours or 24, am I trying to say 365 days a year? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Elise Hardy. I live in North Ogden with my husband and our family, and I fully support the city with opening the pool year round. Even though I'm a parent first and foremost, I come at this a little bit differently. In my professional work, I work to prevent substance use and promote mental health. And I've been studying and working with communities along the Wasatch Front and around the state to find the best ways to keep kids in school, to cut vandalism, to reduce substance use and other risky behaviors. We try to provide community help to parents who are trying to help kids reach their potential. Overwhelmingly, kids that feel attached to their community and have adults that show they care do better than kids growing up otherwise. And we want our kids to know that we care. The research we rely on in my field shows significant evidence confirming the positive impact of recreation facilities on children and youth. Individual level outcomes include improved physical health and mental well-being. Recreation centers play a vital role in community safety and youth development by offering structured, supervised activities that significantly reduce juvenile crime and risky behaviors. Research shows that by providing a structured and supportive environment, rec centers contribute directly to better mental health and physical health outcomes. Additional benefits include positive academic performance and higher graduation rates. Additionally, there is evidence of quantitative data regarding the financial viability of rec centers. Studies show that there's a positive return on investment, or ROI, on money invested in community recreation. Research shows that for every dollar invested in community recreation, the returns are substantial, paying dividends of $4.50. This ROI benefits the community in healthcare savings, crime reduction savings, and property value increases. North Ogden needs places, especially in the winter, that promote healthy living, places that serve as a social community gathering place and have a positive impact on our kids. The cost of a bubble over a pool pales in comparison to the cost of cleaning up the debris left by cities that don't invest in healthy living or in their best assets, their children. Please support our youth and vote to cover the pool. Thank you.
Good evening, council members and mayor. My name is Henderson Bird. I am a North Ogden resident, have lived here for 26 years. I have also been a member of the aquatic community for the last decade as I worked at North Shore as a high school student, swam there as a club swimmer, swam for Weber High. And then over the last 7 years, I have worked for Ogden School District, and now am a teacher at Weber High School and work as the head coach of the Weber High swim team. So you might say that this has very much so piqued my interest. As I've been thinking about the North Shore and covering the pool, I know this has been a debate for the last over a decade since the pool was built, and has been a long, hard fight because of the respect that our city council members pay towards maintaining and protecting the tax benefits and the low tax rates of North Ogden City, which is a respectable and commendable thing, and I appreciate you all for that. I also very much appreciate you guys as council members taking on this discussion in an election year, seeing as this is a very divisive topic in the North Ogden community. As a student of political science and a teacher of U.S. government and citizenship, this is what I live for. As I was preparing for this, I was looking at the numbers and looking at the estimates and reading through and actually looking through the 35-page budget that was proposed last month, give or take, for 2025 to 2026, and looking at the outstanding value that the pool has brought to the community. As I was looking at the Cherry Days and the North Shore Aquatics page, on the agenda, it shows that we, as North Ogden, have valued North Shore so much that we are beginning to increase its value, and eventually we'll probably begin to make revenue due to the wonderful benefits and the increases in the use of the pool and in the payment to get in. As per my athletes have been saying, there is a large cost that goes to Weber School District right now to swim outside of the county. Currently, they pay at minimum $10,000 per team per season, so that's about $2,500 per month to swim at Ogden School District, and at one point they paid $20,000 per team for a premium share. And I know that Weber School District would probably be more than willing to pay that much money to have at least Weber High and double that for Fremont to swim at the North Shore Aquatic Center. Don't quote me on that. I don't work for the district. But I know that the going rate right now for most pools and for most schools to be using sources outside their district is in that 10 to 20,000 range per team, especially if they are given and valued as a member of the community. So that in and of itself would add and help with the costs of running the facility all season long. And I know that if given the opportunity to have more time in the pool, I bet Weber School District would be willing to give this team and the city more money and a more opportunity. Currently, right now, Weber High School swim team is at 50 members strong. We graduated 17 last year, and we have 25 brand new swimmers on our team this year. Swimming is a sport in Weber High School and in North Ogden and Pleasant View that is very much so valued. And it would be far more valued if we had a pool to attend at. I know that the Piranha Swim Club, which has been mentioned, when they had opportunities to swim locally, their team was double the size they are now, but due to now them having to swim out in South Ogden, they have lost a lot of profit and a lot of opportunity to increase their time and their pool time. They currently swim for and at North Shore during the summertime and pay somewhere between $85 and $115 a day. I have not gotten a exact measurement from neither Justin nor Nate because it's in flux right now, but that is somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000 a month additional that a club would pay, plus time that they could use if they were allowed to use it to run swim meets and host big events that would also bring in money and revenue for the pool. This is an awesome opportunity to bring in a bigger community for this area. We've also lost a lot of revenue in the Ogden School District because they have cut water aerobics. So now all of our ladies and men who enjoy water aerobics in the morning and evenings now have to go all the way out to the Marshall White Aquatic Facility. Putting a bubble over North Shore would allow for those programs to continue to flourish and grow in the huge popularity that they have during the summertime here at North Shore. I appreciate the time, and I know that this would be a very valuable investment for North Ogden City. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Jamie Wayman. I'm a resident of Huntsville. And I can't speak to the finances, though I understand pools are really expensive, but I can paint you a picture of what a lifetime swimmer looks like. I grew up at Bountiful swimming at the pool when it was a bubble. And now you have the amazing facility, which brings in a ton of work opportunity for the youth there. Most pools are funded or not funded. They're employ the youth in the area. They employ the community members in the area. I've been got up early to bring my son down here. We've been down on this side of the mountain all day long since 4:30. I ate when we got here. I ate next door because we were in South Ogden going to Piranhas. We found out about the meeting, turned around, came down here to come and make our pitch to please make it year round. I understand it's on the table, though I know it's a long shot to get a really nice facility that is a big community center. And I understand that there's a lot of logistics to go into that. But as someone who's been swimming since I was 12, I know the community, and I've swum in every pool in the state of Utah and outside the state of Utah. And the communities that have an amazing facility build stronger swim teams, which build communities. Swim team is for everybody. I say this to everyone. Nobody sits on the bench in swimming. We make more heats so everyone can swim. So it is for everybody. I swam when I was little. I swam in college. I've swum when I was pregnant, doing water aerobics with the pregnant ladies. I have every intention of being a cotton top lady doing water aerobics. And I'm going to find a pool. Obviously, it's worth it to us to come down here. I can speak for the Huntsville Valley. We would come here. We would come here. This is a long way. We're going to need gas and we're going to need food. So we're going to get it, and we're going to get it here like we did tonight because we love Nelson. So my pitch is to please, I know it's just money, but it builds your community. It's for the children. It's for the families. It's for the elderly. A great swimming facility will be a benefit and an asset, not just to the high schools, of course, to the high schools. The most robust high school programs have an excellent feeder program because they have a facility, because they have a pool for the age group teams to be built up. We have a water polo club too. We did really good with almost no pool time. We're being squoze into the cracks. We have a great water polo club. We could have a great, and that's for the kids. And that makes the parents happy. And that makes the community happy. And we're keeping our kids healthy, and we're keeping our kids engaged, and we're giving them family, and we're giving them friends, and we're giving them love. So as a resident across the mountain, I'm begging you to please at least make it year round. That would be amazing because we're also Piranha people. And I've had 3 kids go to Weber High School, and we love the community, and we're happy to spend more time here. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Council members, my name's Don Arrowood. I'm a member of the Pleasant View community. 3 years ago, I left this community for a job opportunity in St. Louis. St. Louis has a huge water polo and swimming community. There are dozens of indoor pools. I came back to Weber community, to Pleasant View, because of my son's swimming. It is a nationally recognized team. It is a nationally recognized program. When I came back from my job for Hill Air Force Base, when I looked to see where we wanted to live. We lived in Pleasant View previously. He swam with the Piranhas previously. It was a feeder to Weber High School. The reason I came back was for my son to swim at Weber High School. Thank you.
Hey, I'm JD Hall. I live in Plain City. From North Ogden, many years here, Green Acres, and all the way up through Weber High. My daughter swims with Piranha, and that's what I'm here for tonight. Everybody has said wonderful things, and it's been great. It's been a great experience for her. So anyway, I don't know why I'm getting choked up about swimming, but it's my nature, I guess. We visit North Ogden regularly, me mostly for lunch and Amazon returns, but we swim constantly at North Shore. We're here all summer, and we'd love to see a covered pool too. So thank you.
Thanks, JD. Anyone else?
Might need a police escort to my car after the meeting. My name is Brenda Ashton. I live in North Ogden. I will be known as the old lady that does not support covering the swimming pool. Just if I recall right, just last year, we finished paying off the bond for the swimming pool, but we also had several hundreds of thousands of dollars from the RDA that we put into maintenance for the swimming pool this year. My husband worked at a business that worked with bubbles. You pay the cost of the bubble. That is not the expense of the bubble. It is the year-round maintenance, especially in the wintertime. You have to have the air to keep the bubble open. You have to have the heat to keep that air warm in the wintertime to be able to use that pool underneath the bubble. And I'm sorry, I live in North Ogden. I will be the one that will pay my increased property taxes, my increased taxes to pay for this. And probably most of you, sorry, Mayor, are not old enough to realize that we had a community vote on the swimming pool, and the community voted it down because we did not want to be left with these kind of taxes and increase. I just suggest before you even consider, I know there's been some money talked about, 300,000, 1 million, before you consider doing anything like this bubble, and especially before you consider a recreation center, what is it going to cost to bond to do it? Because that's the only way you're going to have the money to do it. There's no money in the budget to just come up with $1 million. How much is that bond going to cost me extra in my taxes? And then how much extra is it going to cost me for maintenance? This pool is not breaking even. The pool, in my opinion, will never break even because we just seen it. We just paid off the bond. We've had to increase the price of going to the pool. And we put hundreds of thousands of dollars into repair. Where is that money going to come for the next repair? So if the pool makes any money, all of that money is going to go to the repair. And I know Ben said before, and I'm afraid that I agree with it, it is not the city's job to provide recreation for the people in the city. And if they have a complaint or a problem with Weber School District, then go to Weber School District and ask them to supply themselves with a swimming pool instead of North Ogden City. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Denise Keys. I live here in North Ogden, and I have a daughter who swims on the Weber High School swim team and also other children that swim with Piranha. As a mom, I love the idea of covering the bubble. We see how much revenue, how many people actually visit this place. It's packed all year round through the summer. I hate speaking in front of people. It makes me nervous. I'm just shaking. Sorry. But I love the fact that we would have some sort of activity through the wintertime. North Ogden doesn't have any sort of recreation that we provide for the children through the wintertime. It will provide more jobs for people. And I think definitely with the aerobics being shut down and all of that, I think it'll bring in enough revenue to support itself. I think this is a great idea and an opportunity to support our children in this community. It is a proven fact that kids who are involved in sports or some sort of sports stay out of trouble. And as a mom, I think that's important for our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jenna Flippins, and I am a resident of North Ogden and a parent to 3 children. And while I could echo everything that has been said today, I just do want to point out that we can't fight with data. And we do have data points that show from our youth and from our community that from our student health and risk prevention survey that's distributed to 6th and 12th graders in Weber County. That's our SHARP survey with parent and youth consent, that less than 50% of our youth have stated that they feel like they have opportunities within their community to participate in community services, schools and clubs and other organizations. So what that data point tells us from Weber County is that we are not providing opportunities for our youth for positive engagement with their peers. And we know from the data, because that speaks louder than anything, that if we're not providing these opportunities for our youth, they're going to engage in risky behaviors. Those risky behaviors are those that we want to protect our kids against and create those barriers. And the bubble over the pool will provide that, not only for our youth, but it will also help all of our community members. We also can't deny what our data says about mental health within Weber County. And we know that providing a positive activity that's exercise is going to help not only our youth with their mental health, but our community as a whole. So I just wanted to, I respect all of the opinions, but want to also highlight the data points that we do have from our youth that speaks louder than anything. So I'd like you to take that into consideration as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandy, and then if we could, we have a hand raised with Susan Kilborn, but Sandy, go ahead.
Sandy Cochran. I am a resident of North Ogden, and I don't have an opinion on the pool. That's why I waited until everyone had gone. I have a comment on agenda item number 10, the amphitheater. I'm hoping that when that presentation is given, the dollar amounts that those events brought in will be shared with everybody. Thanks.
Okay, John, can you make Susan available to talk?
Greetings to all the cities here that are represented and to our mayor, city council et al. Susan Kilborn, 38-year resident of North Ogden, former resident of Pleasant View. I do not go to Fremont High. I don't go to Weber High. I'm not in any swimming club. And I refuse to call myself an old lady, but I will say I am a senior citizen. I would love it if that pool was covered. I have been swimming all my life. I grew up on a lake. I moved to San Diego, lived by the ocean. Then I got landlocked here. And I used to teach swimming lessons. I was a lifeguard and was on the swim team when the North Ogden pool was over by Barker Park. I also taught water aerobics here at North Shore up until about maybe 6-7 years ago. And we had huge attendance. And so Brenda, I love you. We're good friends, you guys, so there's no animosity here. But there are so many reasons that there's not enough time for me to explain it. But yes, our young people, yes, our middle-aged people stay in shape. Yes, 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 our senior people stay in shape, get those bones and muscles moving. I am a big proponent of that now, and some of you have seen me recently know why. But anyway, I just want to say, City Council and folks, don't shelve this. The least we can do is allow some of these people who have come up representing different places the opportunity to see where we could gather funding. You know, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, I'm saying. And happy Halloween, everybody. I'm the witch. So make sure you give me the full-size candy bars.
Thank you, Susan. Anyone else?
Merrill Sunderland, North Ogden resident. A previous person speaking here, I'm trying to remember her name. Cochran, did I get it right? You. Whoever she is, was against the covering the pool. I apparently have missed an awful lot of enthusiastic and emotional interest in doing the next level of making this pool year round. It appears to me that some very narrow special interests are here in the room. I am not interested in having taxes added to again for a feature like this unless the whole community, the city, has a chance to vote to determine whether the city wants this, not just the ones who are very enthusiastic about it. And I really do echo, if you are going to do this, please find funding that is in line with those who are interested in having this done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Reed Miller, North Ogden. Hey, I guess I've been spoiled. Because I was in the military, we had covered swimming pools. I lived in Roy. We had a nice rec center with a wonderful swimming pool. Hey, all I know is right now I enjoy going and doing water aquatics there at the Vasa Fitness Center. I do know this, that here in North Ogden, one thing that has really been a thing that has cost us extra money has been our swimming pool. It's not, as you say, cost effective. I have seen that a bubble, Brenda Ashton was right, it doesn't last forever. And those things are expensive and the maintenance is really bad. And so the only problem with having a covered swimming pool is taking into consideration, you know, the funding. It's the only thing. But putting it on the hands of the citizens right here, got to figure ways so that, hey, we either have shared expense without really having, you know, higher costs to go swimming, you know, something like that. But I don't know, is there a way to fund it? That's it, and to maintain it without a real burden on the citizens.
Thank you, Reed. All right, thank everyone for their comments. I think good points have been made on both parts of the discussion. A challenge I would give to those who are here tonight that come from Huntsville and Plain City and Pleasant View is for you to attend their council meetings and ask them how much they'd be willing to contribute towards putting a bubble and maintaining it on that facility. I think you've heard from a couple citizens of North Ogden who are concerned about the burden being placed on the city. So not only would we have to, as the council looks at this issue, not only would we have to identify the initial capital expenditure, but we'd also have to have what they call an interlocal agreement to cover the costs. If you research those who have these type of facilities or recreation facilities, I think you'll be surprised on the operating cost to do that. But my challenge would be to the parents and to those who have spoken tonight, which, by the way, everyone did a nice job, and particularly the younger folks in their presentations, and we appreciate that. But I think that's the challenge I would issue to you, is to see what the cities who swim at Fremont and Weber High School, what their level of participation may be. I think several of the residents made the comment this would take some pretty good research to see what the effect on operations would be and what the maintenance costs and all those things would be, because I think I could speak for the council. We probably received more comments on the property tax rate in North Ogden than anything else. And so the council does receive a lot of pressure in that regard. But as someone said, I think you never say no until you get all the facts. I think historically the facts have been probably against. I think I saw the recommendation from the staff, but I was a little bit surprised on the range to cover that. I think there'd have to be more research done. So that would be the challenge that I would issue to those who have spoken tonight and those that are here, to show the kind of revenue that could be generated and what other cities' participation levels may be. And just for your information, we have a senior center here, and we've only been able to get one city to participate, even though many cities use it. So I think your presentation skills, you've done a good job tonight. Maybe you can make some progress. So if you would take that challenge and report back as part of the information gathering, that would be, I think, appropriate. Any comments, council? Councilmember Pulver?
Mayor, I second what you just said, but I think the presentation from the dog park, I think that should be the level of, I don't know, people probably didn't see that, but that was off the chart, awesome greatness. So, I mean, I think think about what you want, go figure out, exactly what you're looking for, pictures, things like that, because I think a picture is worth 1,000 words. And if you can find, just estimates, I know city staff is pretty stretched as it is, but I think the biggest thing is how much involvement do you want to do? If this is really important, then, I mean, the gentleman that did the dog park, I mean, he really wants improvements to the dog park. And so it was incredible. If you go back and look at what he did, that's a new standard. But anyway.
Well, thanks I was concerned you were going to say that when the dog park fills up, that could be used for swimming.
Oh, boy.
But I'm glad that wasn't your approach.
Mayor.
How many more months?
Yeah, Councilmember Watson.
Can I just thank everyone who has participated? As a council member myself, I feel like it's hard to just put my own opinion in as a vote, but I really rely my votes on what feedback I get from people who are willing to share that. So for those who spoke, thank you. And whether you did or didn't, I would just encourage you to email this group. You can email all of us at once with whatever thoughts you have, especially if you didn't have a chance to say. But it's ccmm@nogden.org. If you are able to send us your thoughts there, if you weren't able to tonight, we always love hearing from the public.
Okay. Once again, thank you for your comments. Thanks for your attendance, Councilmember Severin.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to tell the youth, I spent a good portion of my life working with the youth, and you young people are awesome. Okay, you guys are incredible. Thank you for the great presentation. I, for one, while I'm very frugal individual, and I think as a council, we've worked hard to make sure that the money that we collect in fees and property taxes is used very carefully. I am one who sees, not knowing exactly how this is going to end, but I want you to know that I think that there are some advantages that far outweigh the cost for some things, and the benefits that our students get. The community that develops is always a good thing. So thank you for being here today.
Okay. And for those of you who didn't get the reference to the dog park, we had a gentleman come who done his research and made recommendations on what needed to be done, how to be funded, what the options were. So if you could take that kind of interest, I think it would be helpful. And we look forward to hearing back from you. Okay. Anything else? Councilmember Barker? John, anything? All right. We'll move on. For those of you who want to leave now before we get into it, I'll let you. If not, you're stuck here the rest of the night.
Why do we put the discussion on? Move things away.
You said them all out. They want to know what's going
We could move that.
Now, I should point out, if you leave, though, you're going to miss item 10, which is the discussion utilizing the aquatic center. Just wanted to point that out. All right. We're going to move on. We're going to move on to item number 7. We're going to hear from our esteemed city recorder, Ryan Santoro. He's going to talk to us about the Atkinson Pauling annexation petition.
Thank you, Mayor.
You bet.
Council, tonight I have before you an acceptance of an annexation petition. Derek Terry and Garrett Seeley turned in this annexation petition on October 14th. They also turned it in to the Weber County surveyors, who reviewed that proposed plat and gave it a thumbs up and approved it to be good to go. Notices of this proposed annexation have been mailed to the affected entities by the petitioner as well as the Weber County Clerk's office. If the council accepts this petition for further consultation, the annexation will be forwarded to the prospective different departments for their approval. I will certify the annexation, and then it will go to the Planning Commission for a zoning recommendation. We also have the petitioners here if you guys have questions.
Okay, council, do you have any questions for Ryan or the petitioners? All right, this will entail a vote, roll call vote, once the motion is made, and we'll start with Councilmember Barker and then go to Councilmember Pulver and just work our way down here. So if there are no questions, I would look for a motion to approve the acceptance of the Atkinson Pauling annexation petition for property located at 1978 North, 1150 East. Council, would someone like to make a motion?
I will go ahead and motion. I move that we approve the acceptance of the Atkinson Pauling annexation petition for approximately 1978 North, 1150 East.
Thank you, Councilmember Talpaz, and a second from Councilmember Pulver. Any further discussion?
Mayor, just one point. I just was trying to look real fast because I had just came to my head. We don't have any other properties that are nearby that, because I don't want to make the same mistake we did before, where there's a couple properties that aren't included, but in my opinion, probably should be, in the future if there's anything nearby, but I don't think that's
John's
the case. Right?
saying there's none nearby.
I mean, I didn't see any.
That's correct. This is kind of an island by itself.
That's what I thought. Okay. That's it. Thanks.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
the closest
Councilmember Pulver.
closest county land is that corner on Fruitland and 2100 North, but it's its own animal.
Just making sure.
Okay. We have a motion?
That was discussion.
Discussion? Any further discussion? We'll start with Councilmember Barker then. Councilmember Barker,
Yes.
Councilmember Pulver,
Yes.
Councilmember Dalpas,
Yes.
Councilmember Watson,
Yes.
Councilmember Severing.
Yes.
That motion passes unanimously. We'll now move on to item number 8. Mr. Scott Hess, who's our Economic and Community Development Director, is going to update us on the Tri-City Exchange Food Bank Code Enforcement. I believe there was a memo from Scott in the packet. So I don't know if you have any questions for Scott or additional information you'd like to share. Go ahead, Scott.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So you had the staff report in front of you, and I didn't know the land use decisions just clear a room. So we're at this point. I'm sorry. I wish that we had everybody here to still listen to the presentation. Back in April, so April 8th, 2025, with the City Council, we reviewed a series of code enforcement issues as we were going through the budget. And one of the recommendations from the police department was to fund an additional community service officer, which would have brought our code enforcement efforts up higher. We would have been able to do more responsive code enforcement or proactive code enforcement instead of simply responding to calls. That wasn't funded in this budget year. That's not really an excuse for any lesser code enforcement that the city does, and I don't believe that we're doing less code enforcement than we typically have. But it's just kind of a reality of the situation that we have with our 2 CSOs and their broad responsibilities that they do within their full-time work. One of the items that we've been tracking and following is the Tri-City Exchange Food Bank, and watching that item as it's gone through the process. It is currently working towards compliance with code issues, and there's still a few issues left. So John, in the staff report, if you want to pull it up, there's a series of pictures. We can look at what the site looked like in June of 2025, and then there's some pictures in October. So this is, if you scroll up really fast, John, it's a little hard to see. Sorry, the other way. This is the back lot of the property, and it's right adjacent to the Majestic Views Townhomes Phase 2. So they're constructing townhomes right off the property line. Those are not occupied yet, but we have received several complaints from the Majestic Views Townhome Phase 1 folks. Some of them about the refrigerator trucks that run on diesel and just run throughout the day to keep those to keep food cold. And our police department went out with the decibel meter. We have a noise ordinance, and at the property line, they are just within the limits of the decibel meter. So Tri-City Exchange has done significant work on those reefer trucks to make sure that they're quiet, efficient diesel engines that are operating those. There is still, of course, noise, but it is within compliance of the decibel reading, which I think was one of the items the council was interested in. The back lot had just debris and material and weeds back there that was requested to be cleaned up. If you scroll down, John, the pictures are a little hard to follow unless you've been on the site. This is looking west towards the townhomes that are under construction, and it's just more rolls of stuff generally. This is between the building and there's some parked cars. That's one of the refrigerator trucks right there on the far right, just the corner poking out. And then if you want to scroll down, there's some pictures of the front of the site as well. That's the reefer trucks parked side by side with the box truck that does food deliveries. This is near the entrance of the food bank, and just to the left, it's hard to see, there were 2 box trucks with kind of the roofs ripped off, like they just weren't operable vehicles. Scroll down, and that's what it looks like from the parking lot. There were a few unregistered vehicles on site. We asked them to register all those. And then if you cut to the next, that's the garbage truck trying to clean up. That's some more of the material on site. And then this is what it looked like on October 14th, 2025. So the backyard is significantly cleaned up. The metal racking material that they want to keep for the cleanup of the inside and just kind of general use has been stacked neatly against the building. That propane tank is still viable and used by the business. Those 2 vehicles that you see are unregistered and will be hauled off the site by the end of November. There's another trailer there as well that was kind of legacy. It was left there when they had the property, and so they're getting rid of those vehicles. They've cleaned up a significant amount of the material between the building and the reefer trucks and reorganized things. This picture highlights one of the main issues on the site, which is that it doesn't have an approved site plan. They've put down some impervious surface, compacted gravel, and they don't have a stormwater plan. So the stormwater collects just essentially in the low spots of the site, making it muddy and difficult to navigate around. That's one of the things we'd like to see cleaned up if the site continues to be improved. If you scroll down, John, there's some of the vehicles have been removed. This is a little hard to see because it's right on the fence line of their neighbor. So that red pickup truck is actually on the neighboring property as well as some of those vehicles. But if you go walk the site, and you had seen it earlier this summer, significant progress has been made. So from a code enforcement standpoint, staff was feeling pretty good about where it was at. The dismantled box trucks are removed. This has a snow plow blade that is used to scrape snow in the winter. And then the rest of this that's under the tarps are all used materials for the site, basically. And then I think that's the side. It's more cleaned up. And then the last picture is their RV, which is one of the unregistered vehicles initially that is registered and licensed now. So he's currently parking it there, but it'll be moved off-site. But it's owned and registered to the owner of the business. So we really don't have you need to remove your vehicle that you have here. Overall, I think staff was impressed by the code enforcement response here, but there's still the pending issues that if this site is to continue being functional and viable, we have a site plan from Planning Commission that needs to be improved, storm detention, drainage, coordination with UDOT, a traffic control plan, hard surface parking. So it's still a it's a compacted road-based soft surface parking area. So it isn't compliant still from a number of the land use planning aspects, but as far as just the site being cleaned up, it's significantly better. And what staff would be looking for from the council is considering this information and discussing the site improvements, what's a recommendation to city staff regarding future action and timing of those further compliance issues, the site plan and those efforts? Regarding any leftover code enforcement pieces in talking to our community service officers, if those are not completed by the end of November, which was what the business owner had confirmed they were going to do, then we'll just move forward with the standard process. So that'd be a letter, a 10-day notice, and then fines beginning on a daily basis that they could clean up the site and begin paying those. And the fines and those items will be restricted to just the code enforcement cleanup pieces that we've been working with them on since April. So that's removal of vehicles, on-site junk and storage, but not necessarily all of the land use components like the stormwater detention and parking. So with that, I kind of leave it in the council's hands to provide some guidance back to us, and then we'll also do a further code enforcement overall presentation back to the council with those other items that we've addressed.
Council Pulver, I believe you had your hand up.
So I guess there was, in the write-up, there was indication, and whenever he came back, I can't remember if it was a year ago, that we chatted about this, and he said there were potential to move. In fact, he was almost positive it'd be soon, whatever that defined soon. But I guess the point was, and there was a write-up in here about another type of move that he wants to do. And I guess, is that even, I don't know. I guess my point is code enforcement needs to do what they need to do. I mean, this is not, if it was anybody else's yard, they'd be working with them to get it, especially it's so used. And that's the key thing, is that if anything happens, it's on us. I mean, obviously, because if we don't work with them to get it done, then if anything happens, then, code enforcement related, then it's kind of on us. And so to me, it's still a priority. It's still something that needs to get done. But it's not really the city's responsibility to say, when are you going to move? Because that's not the point. The point is they're providing us a great service, but at the same time, they're in our city. We need to enforce our rules. So it's great to see progress, but at the same time, You know, I don't know what to tell you on the site plan because that's something that's a higher level because like you said, it starts working on it and that it needs to be enforced too. But, you know, I don't know. We can talk about the site plan stuff later, but I think code enforcement still needs to press.
Thank you. Councilmember Severin?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Scott and John, I don't know if Scott will know the answer to this, so I'm kind of curious if John does. Kind of changing subjects just a little bit about the Tri-City Exchange. First, I think it's a great service. Last Friday, I drove by and I was just amazed at how many cars were parked around Kurt's, the pizza place, Best Realty. Are we doing any kind of code enforcement on people parking there? I can't imagine that we don't have complaints from those businesses about the amount of people that are parking there.
So my understanding is that the operator of the food bank has worked out some sort of a deal with those commercial folks that people can park there and walk over.
Really?
Because for a while there, everyone was just parking on Washington and jaywalking, and police did some enforcement for, you know, U-turns and accidents and all sorts of things were going on. So that's my understanding. At least I'm not aware of a complaint from the businesses over there for the use during the day on Fridays.
Thank you.
So Scott, I have a question. What is your assessment of the possibility of them ever becoming in compliance with site plan needs? Because frankly, if there's no hope that they're going to come in compliance with that, then there's no use not taking action. So what is the potential from your standpoint as the Director of Planning in regards to approved stormwater plan and an approved site plan?
So it's a really good needed use in a bad location. So I would.
Let me clarify. I understand the use is really good. It's really needed right now. I don't think any of the council is questioning that. But it does put the council in an awkward position when they have to make these exceptions based upon what's good and what's bad.
Sure.
Because people have a different interpretation of what that is.
Right.
So just your assessment of the possibility of them coming in compliance with the site plan and the stormwater needs.
The site simply isn't large enough to park people to have a turnaround facility. And the way I think about it is, if this were In-N-Out Burger, or if it was McDonald's operating up on 2600 North and 400 East, would we allow the drive-through to back up onto Washington Boulevard or onto 2600? And the answer would be no, right? We would control that from a traffic control standpoint. This particular use has certainly outgrown the size of its site, and it's a commercial use, even if it's a nonprofit, even if it's a food bank that's helping out, you know, people in need. So in reality, essentially zero. I don't see the site ever functioning at the level that it's currently at in being improved. So you can have an asphalt parking lot, we can collect stormwater, we can put in the correct restroom facilities, but the site will never be large enough to accommodate the number of people who come to it on any given Friday.
Will that be a violation?
No, we can't. I mean, we have other businesses. We have one who's been a speaker here several times that has a parking problem with their business outgrowing their current parking lot. So it's not a code enforcement issue to have a site that is so popular that you end up parking outside of it, but it's really problematic. I mean, we just wouldn't approve it. We wouldn't approve the same use in a small constrained location with parking that doesn't meet their needs. And we can see it physically, even if they were to come in and say a food bank's going to generate 20 trips on a Friday, so we only need this number of parking stalls. We have evidence at this point for the last 4 years that I've worked here of Fridays being, you know, far exceeding the amount of site and parking. They don't have a parking lot that allows a drive-through turnaround. It's difficult in several factors.
Councilmember Delpas?
Did we get any indication from the owner of the potential of moving within North Ogden? Because that was To Councilman Pulver's point, a big part of the discussion last time he came here, he seemed pretty certain that, well, he seemed optimistic, certain, or positive, whatever, that he would have another place of business secured. Has he said anything about it recently? No, yay.
Sean's gonna.
Yes, his comments were because he made it public and kind of implied the location, that people started making inquiries and essentially torpedoed that deal. So he has a new location that he's optimistic about, but we have no idea where it's at, who it's with. He's being very tight-lipped about that. But it's in this area. It may not be North Ogden, it may be Pleasant View or Harrisville, but it's within, driving distance of where people are used to going.
So Scott, do they have a business license yet?
I've checked with Colleen and I think it is legitimately a nonprofit, and as far as I know, they are compliant that way. So I believe
So with a nonprofit, they get a business license and they're not expected to renew. She just double checks that they're still operating.
Yep. I believe they're compliant from that standpoint.
So stormwater compliance, what's the chances of that? It's just a number between 1 and 100.
See, I mean,
It can't go below 0.
almost 0. It really is. The site isn't conducive to collecting stormwater the way it's designed. The Majestic Views Townhomes Phase 2 has cut off access to the stormwater outlet that would have been there. Unless there's a negotiation with that property owner to the west, which is certainly possible, there's really nowhere to get their stormwater off of the site at this point. So
you're saying 0 compliance possibility with the stormwater plan or a site plan?
And the other issue, and it's not that I want an underperforming site to continue operating, is that continuing to invest money in this, hundreds of thousands of dollars in parking and stormwater and improvements on site is kind of continuing to dig a hole in that site. The site isn't functional as it is, so any amount of site improvements won't make it function better for hundreds of people using it on Friday. It really needs to find a better location. And we can't force that. We can't force them out of the city for having a really popular, well-used use. But I'm concerned with dumping a bunch of money into improving it only for them to move when that money could be better served with securing another location.
Do you think they're aware of that same idea?
Very much. And I think that anything, you talk to our city engineer and anything is possible. With enough money, you can engineer anything, which is true. They can get their stormwater off of their site. They can fix their parking lot. But it's a function of how much will this cost and is it worth doing on that particular site? We've talked about a midterm option would be operate the site as it works from Sunday through Thursday, and then on Fridays, drive food to another distribution location. And you give food out in an area where you have parking availability and turnarounds and queuing locations. And, you can set lines up in places that are far less dangerous than people standing on the curb of Washington Boulevard for, an hour. But that has its own logistical issues with loading up all that food and then delivering it and dropping it off. But we've suggested that as a kind of like a midterm option.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt it's a good service. We just need to figure out how it can be compliant.
Right.
Unless the council is in the business of making exceptions based upon what's good and what's bad. There any questions for Scott? Councilmember Watson?
Is there a way, I realize it's not ideal for our CSOs to have this kind of hand-holding for every applicant, but is there a way that we could set up deadlines on a regular basis? Like we're going to be here every 3 weeks and we need to see change happen within every visit before we start taking
Sort of what
action?
they've been doing. If you
Right,
look
it
through
seems like that they have been
October,
changing, so this
November.
is the past, right? But we did give them from June to, was it October? So that's kind of a long period of time, but you know, if you shortened that time period, would they still?
Now it's the end of November.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's the issue because we can see they're making progress there. I think the issue is who else in the city is operating without a site plan or without compliance with stormwater?
Nobody. We wouldn't.
Well, I mean, if they're working towards it, that's what I'm saying.
No, with the
Well,
site
they're not
plan, no, they're
working
not.
towards it. They can't, the expense is too great. They're not working towards that.
Yeah, we would need a site plan first that would be applied for, reviewed at planning commission, approved, and then from there they could begin picking off the pieces of the approved site.
But you'd never have an approved site plan for that location for what they're doing.
No.
So like the mayor's point is that there's a 0% chance they will have an approved site plan and a 0% chance that they will have any type of stormwater removal per the code. And so it's one of those things that we have to make a decision. Do we make an exception? And that's the mayor's point. And I think the problem that we face right now is the good versus the bad. But at the same time, do you make exceptions based on that? And my point is that at least get the code enforcement continuing to go and, you know, press on the move. That's literally the only two things we can do, or start fining. And if do you want to find an organization, I mean, that is providing food to the needy, I mean, that would be the most horrible optic I could think of. But at the same time, you would do it to any other business that wasn't in compliance.
John, would this require a variance? How, if the council decided they wanted to, I'm not saying yay or nay, is this what, would require a variance because they're not in compliance?
It would require a specific tailoring of code provisions to allow for the use in this condition. So you could, for example, have something that says, hey, a nonprofit use isn't required to have an asphalt parking lot. And then you would need to say it that way. You wouldn't say that, you know, the Tri-City Exchange isn't, because you need to be fair to all nonprofits. So then you'd open yourself to others moving in and following the same rules.
Councilmember Severing?
So is this just a discussion tonight? We're not looking for an answer or a motion or anything like that?
No decision.
Yeah, you could make a decision or you could provide guidance. There's not really a decision to be made in this meeting other than if you want to say, you know, go forth and fine. If we have the CSOs who want to go out and find them, it's a little different when you have a land use decision like a site plan versus junk and deleterious material, which is what they've really been focused on, is cleaning the site up. And that part I think is pretty good. So you tell us. I mean, the same thing like what Councilmember Pulver said, to be the Community and Economic Development Department that shuts down a food bank is a difficult situation to be in. And we try to treat everybody fairly and make sure that they're all following the rules, to include all the new businesses on 2600. And we had a Mountain America or a Bank of America just open. I mean, that one has asphalt parking lot and stormwater detention and landscaping and an approved site plan. So we try to hold everybody to the same standard. What we're looking for from council is what's a reasonable amount of time to give them to come into compliance, or do we just issue you can't operate in the city anymore and pull a business license and go that direction?
Well, Scott, I don't know how, if I heard you right, there's a 0 chance they can come into compliance. It would seem like the best thing we can do is work with them and try to help them find something that works, because I think it is a great service. We don't want to yank the rug out from underneath people, particularly now when it's such a big need.
Right.
But it seems like the best we can do is try to work with them to find something that does work. And, you know, I think it's probably such a good service that maybe if we can help them find a place that works, I mean, United Way or those in the community that are now willing to donate, I think there's an awareness probably greater than there has been for some period of time. Maybe we can help them get a permanent spot that works. I don't see anybody on the council that's jumping up and down hoping that we can kick them out of the city.
No, not at all.
But on the other hand, you know, you start making exceptions. Where does it start and where does it end? And, you know, I guess the other option is the council can change the ordinance if they'd like to.
Yep. We could do it.
for all?
There's a few things we could suggest that, or suggest some land use directions going forward. So carving out an exception, or carving out some zoning code for nonprofits, or doing a development agreement with a sunset clause that they have a certain amount of time to either come into compliance or move, but that gives them the rules or ability to operate under their current design. There are ways to do a path forward as they are right now, but I think it's that applying it consistently thing that we want to be.
Well, maybe you could define for the council what the options are for a path forward and what responsibility, what they would have to do to do that, and then they can make a decision.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay?
Anything else?
I think the optimal thing is trying to find something for them permanently.
Absolutely.
I'm not an exception person, because then it doesn't become an exception, it becomes the standard.
Right.
And, but it would seem like to me that there's plenty of intelligent people in this community that could come up with a solution to help them be successful.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else, council? Does that sound fair?
Yeah, the timing is incredibly difficult, just considering that their amount of use has just gone up 3x, 4x in the last month. So that's what's so rough is, it seems like a bad time to come down with the hammer when their increase in utilization has gone up so much. But I don't see the solution. I don't know what the solution is going to be.
I'd be interested to hear more about the sunset clause I don't know if it could be a long period of time, relatively, but enough time for them to secure a new property. Maybe that's, where you can have the justice and the mercy at the same time.
Yeah, John as city attorney and I can go through some options for moving forward, and then I will come back and report to the council.
Okay, good.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott, for your work on that. No, it's a delicate subject, and I'm sure because of the good work that they do, there's some solution somewhere. We just have to find it. Okay. Peter, I guess you're going to come and surprise some people and say that we made money in the aquatic center without depreciation, right?
Oh, I'm not talking about depreciation. Operating fund. But we'll start with, we'll get there. Peter Brown, Finance Director. I was asked to come do sort of an after action report on our Cherry Days event, as well as our aquatics from a business standpoint. So let me get that set up here. All right, we'll start with Cherry Days. Just kind of run down some revenue figures here. Our 5K run brought in about $6,300. Is most of that's fees. We had some general donations and other revenues, $22.4 thousand. In order to make Cherry Days operate right now, we have in our budget a $31,000 transfer from the general fund, and we had to utilize that. Couple of things, our donations, a few of our donations are tied to events. We had a $5,000 donation from Lee's that we just found today. That we kind of put it in a place in the geo we couldn't find. We found it, so it was great to be able to find that. And then a $25,000 donation for pickleball, which is interesting because our pickleball tournament only costs a little over $100. Recognize there's other things going into pickleball other than just, our direct costs, but that's what we were able to ascertain by going through all of the donations and the revenues. I'll skip over and just go into our summary here. So if you look down this chart here, it shows you sort of our revenues kind of taking our general revenues and using a pro rata adjustment just to see what we're able to cover on the basis of both both of our donations and other sorts of fee generation that we got through Cherry Days. And then on our expenditure side, there were several expenditures that didn't necessarily tie to one event. So we took those and spread those out as well over several of the events. Generally speaking, this just kind of helps you understand what the events are running in terms of their direct costs. So when you go out and buy a widget for an event, what widget does that support? If you go out and purchase a permit for the entire event, you spread that cost over all of the events. That's sort of the best way to look at this. Well, what's not measured here, just to kind of round it out, is we didn't look at ramp days, our vendor market, our sunrise service, or our rodeo. Flick and Float kind of operates under the aquatics umbrella, and so those were not looked at here. As you can see, we really in this I extracted the general fund sort of transfer here. So the general fund's not what we get from the general fund to make this fund whole is not being included here. We just wanted to look at, just on the basis of direct costs and direct revenues, what are these events doing? Here's kind of a multi-year look at Cherry Days. It's kind of been all over the board. We've had some different ways in which we've gone after revenues, and we've had some events that we've spent money on in the past. But we sort of settled down this year. So this is just an opportunity for you to kind of look at some suggestions. Staff can give you some ideas to start. I came up with 4. One is to find more donations, more ways to pay for these events. We might need to raise the cost of our 5K to cover our expenses. We're not super over on the 5K, but we probably ought to look at raising those fees just to help cover those costs. We might want to look at some of our events and see which ones are costly, maybe pare those down a little bit or eliminate them. And then the other thing is maybe it's okay that we subsidize from the general fund. That's a decision that you have to make as a council. What's the right threshold for that? That's up to you to decide. But those are just some of the discussions you might want to have amongst yourselves as we're looking at this event moving forward. Any questions?
I have a question. I'm totally taken back that we show a subsidy of $96,300 in 2024. That is a total surprise to me. Is any of the council members aware that we made a $96,000 subsidy?
I know we had hit it at least once.
The amount in my mind has always been in the $30,000 to $50,000 range.
I know we had to do
So-
it. Said there was a follow-up after that. Then they summed it up. But 96 wasn't, yeah, I mean.
Well, particularly
So-
since we had a revenue in 57,000 in 2022 with no expenditures, no subsidy. And then all of a sudden, where'd that money go?
Hey, Mayor.
That's
your time.
Oh, is that you, Councilmember Barker?
Yeah, sorry. I'm
coming
trying. Just some thought on 23 and 24. That was when we had the volunteers raising money, and I'm not sure if everything. I don't understand the subsidy, but in 23 we raised over $60,000 in donations, and I'm just going off the top of my head on numbers, and then the revenue was on top of that where we charged the armbands to get in. In 24, we were a little bit less, and that was about the 55,400. But then I don't see where this revenue is from charging for the armbands to get into the carnival or in all the events. So that's why I don't know why the subsidy says 96,000. I know we had to pay a little extra, but it wasn't 96,000.
Yeah, that's why I say it's a total surprise to me.
And that's why I don't know if maybe when we turned in our final budget, we didn't classify everything correctly, or I don't know what happened.
Well, and I think that, John, correct me if I'm wrong, our target's been $25,000.
Yeah, I think that either the revenue from the bands or the donations are getting pulled into that subsidy through the GL accounts. Because if I remember right, they were over budget, but that ate up the profit that they had made in 2023.
They had like a $19,000 profit.
Yeah.
And then it was eaten up the next year.
I think to your point, Mayor, the city's actual subsidy was closer to that. I think it was 44,000 because they ate up their money from the year before that they had essentially booked for the future year. And it's just something in the chart I probably should have caught and talked through Peter with before. He sent this to me and I did not catch this number. So it's probably just he's still learning our account.
I didn't dig into the history of 24. I wasn't here for 24. But I was just trying to tie out what I showed on the books.
I think just to clarify, the council has approved an expenditure of $25,000 out of the general fund. The rest is supposed to be covered by donations, revenue generation, et cetera. So I don't know where we're at. And then I'm looking at this, of the $59,750 of revenue, are we saying 31,000 of that came from the city?
Correct.
Well, if that's the case, and I'm looking at the subsidy of 96,000 and total revenues of 55,000 in 2024, there seems to be some significant inconsistency.
And 2024 is the year that we moved it into its own fund, and that might have confused the back end system that Peter's trying to work through.
Could you take a look at this, and you and Peter, and maybe?
Yeah, I think there might be some fund balance in there. It was just a math. We're trying to make the math work and the expenditures and the revenues.
Yeah, I think the important thing is the council needs to know, was the amount budgeted authorized for expenditures exceeded or not? And I can't tell from this. Because I would assume, John, correct me if I'm wrong, if the legislative body only authorized 25,000 and more than that was spent, you'd have to come back for a budget adjustment, wouldn't you?
Correct. And Councilmember Pulver has the budget open in front, and
Yeah, there was 25 and then it was 20 and change that came to 45 and change. That was the final budget.
for 23.
For
When?
24. Yeah.
But that extra 20,000 was the excess
beginning
from the year before.
Right, the beginning balance.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the subsidy would have only been the 21,000 because the
Yeah.
revenue would be up
But-
above and the expenditure would be
Yeah.
down below.
To be honest, I think the point is that what Peter's talking about, like, to me, I like the previous slide the best, where it says, what are we carrying for the events that we're doing or going to be doing? And I think to me, that's the biggest, that we have to subsidize pretty exclusively the fireworks, and where can we press more gas on the donations is where the things that are negative.
Well, and that was my question. So on that previous slide, and I can't see anyone's face, so maybe I'm talking out of turn. How come our fireworks are over 30,000? Our estimate was less than, or it's about 20 originally. So that's where I'm curious why we have almost $12,000 more for firework costs.
Yeah, because we had a contract, didn't we?
Did it have something to do with the date change?
It's and Peter explained at the beginning. So he took all of the the cost that wasn't directly assignable to, hey, it went to this event, and spread it across the events. And so that's how come the fireworks ended up being 33, is he's grouped in other costs, some employee time and other things like that that are just.
And I didn't spread it evenly by each event. It wasn't like I took all events and just divided it by X events. You know, for events that were more costly and had more revenue attached, I weighted it heavier on that extra
But
amount.
now I'm
going
really
there.
confused because this slide says staff time and overtime not expensed or accounted for.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
so the point of that is that if staff put time into the event, we didn't take that and allocate it over to Cherry Days.
Yeah, I know, but I think John said the reason we went from 20,000 to 33,000 was the allocation of expenses, including staff time.
That is what I said. I was incorrect.
First time in 6 years. That's not a bad record, John.
Yeah.
So it was other expenses, but yeah.
Yeah, I might, if you want me to go back and revisit 24, I'm happy to do that for you to sort of get your head around that. I spent most of my time looking at 25 and just sort of went backwards to get a sense of where we've been.
And I think that would be fine, but I
yeah.
think the council needs to know, it is their responsibility to know if the budgeted amount, which was 25,000, is that correct, John? What was budgeted out of general fund? Because we always support.
For 25.
25?
For 2020, be fund year 2024,
Or
or fiscal year
25.
2020.
This one
Five,
that's, this
sorry.
one that's showing right here.
25.
Did we exceed the 25,000 or not?
Yeah, that's from the previous.
Did you have?
Maybe we don't have that answer. Maybe
Yeah.
that's what you could concentrate on, Peter.
I want to say in my mind, part of this is a fund balance transfer. It's not just a subsidy or a transfer from the general fund. So,
Can I ask another question?
Councilmember Watson?
I remember when we made the agreement with our events coordinator to be the one finding all of the sponsors, we promised some kind of percentage return to incentivize her to find more. And in my opinion, if that's the way that we address it or expect things to happen, then there is some kind of margin, some kind of room range, right? If she does or if she doesn't, it's kind of in her realm to decide or to find, and so I'm wondering if that falls back onto our contribution. Does that mean that our contribution changes from 25,000 to 31,000, or where does that give come out of?
So our budget for this fiscal year is 31,000. That was the subsidy in the budget for the Cherry Days this year.
So we hit that number exactly.
Well, in theory, that 2250, that's the surplus. The council can give Peter direction on whether or not to transfer the full 31 or to transfer 2850 over or something like that.
So we went, so we didn't spend our entire 31. We had 2250 left. Is that what you're saying?
There's two ways to do it. One is to not transfer the full 31 over, or the other one is to move that 2250 into next year to be used for Cherry Days, and in theory, reduce the subsidy next year. So there's two different options.
Most of the time that I've been around, it feels like we roll whatever's left over to the next year, because that's what I can remember conversations being. So it feels most natural if there is a remainder that it rolls to the next year to reduce the burden next year. I don't know if I'm off there, but that's what I remember.
Whatever the council decides.
Guess it depends where we end up at the end of the year, too.
But I don't think we need
There's
to
still
make
gonna
that
be a
decision
final.
tonight.
yeah, I don't
John.
think we're going to see much more as far as movement in that line. Jerry Days is over unless we find some sort of weird anomaly that pops up. I think we've captured most of it.
I just had one other thought. As far as the race goes, I think it's a pretty low rate right now, the fee for the race. And my just quick estimating here from your numbers on your screen, it would only go up about $3 per race ticket to cover itself. And I think that's completely reasonable to increase the race to cover itself.
John, do we reimburse the Kiwanis Club for the free breakfasts, or do they just eat that?
They use the proceeds from the breakfast to cover their cost and then go towards their program to get books and
Yeah.
things for schools.
Well, I'm talking about the runners get, I think, a free breakfast. Do we pay them for that, or they just eat that as part of their?
We pay as part of their registration. We pay them money. Yes.
Wasn't a lot. I think it's a couple $100 or something.
Well, I don't think we need to make a decision tonight, do we, John?
No, this was just kind of as a follow-up for the council. In fact, you kind of notice everything on the agenda tonight is kind of like a, hey, we're just trying to make sure you're aware of what's happened.
All right, thanks for that presentation, Peter. Do you have any other questions?
I mean, it doesn't feel complete, so we'll probably get a follow-up for 2024 just to be sure. I mean, we think that we know the number, but can we just get this back later at one of our next meetings?
Absolutely. I can give you some
Or
I will get into the weeds more on that for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Plus we're going through the audit right now, which is looking at that event which is funny because we're going through the audit now, but the event is over a year ago. And we'll hopefully get that a little more detailed before
Okay.
the audit. So the next one I wanted to go through is the aquatics. And one thing I did do with our aquatics budget, if you're familiar with the way that it's structured, because our aquatics year starts at the end of one fiscal year and then starts in the beginning of another fiscal year. So it sometimes makes it difficult to do comparables because of that. What I've done here is I've sort of meshed them together. So when you look at the years here, we're talking about calendar year, not fiscal year. So hopefully that can help you wrap your heads around the performance of the aquatic center as we move forward. Okay, so our revenues for 2025 calendar year total just under $600,000. And you'll see sort of those groupings there. Most of that's in admission fees. And then we have a bunch of other categories that made us some revenue. Our expenditures, I've just given the summary here, close to, and this includes estimations through the end of the year. So we're still paying staff, we're still paying for some maintenance, we're still having some expenditures that come in through December. And I've done my best to estimate that and stick that in there. Right now, we're looking at about $16,000 profit to the North Shore Aquatic Center. I do want to point out, though, that this is operating costs. Doesn't include, our buildings and our depreciation and some of those capital infrastructure upgrades, monies that come through the RDA, any kind of grants that we have to build facilities or maintain new facilities. This is just the cost to operate what we have. Here's a comparison for past years. Going back to the 2022 calendar. As you can see, we're getting better, and we've been able to sort of cross and do a little bit better on our operating costs from a calendar year standpoint. We've eked over into the positive. And the next one is, well, what pieces of this are really performing well over the past several years? Admission fees, and I believe there was a change to the cost of the admission fees. They'd gone up. That's probably the big factor there. I didn't look at attendance versus cost in here. I just looking at raw revenue numbers. The other was our rentals. So anytime somebody rents the pool or a group wants to rent the pool, that is also increased as well. Do you have a question?
Well, I was just trying to remember, we did that it wasn't that long ago, we changed the fees. Right? Right, that's what I'm saying. So the jump in from 23 to 24 wasn't because of a fee increase.
Didn't we have increases in previous years as well? So it's a
23 to
gradual,
24.
it's a gradual showing of, I can't remember if it's 23 or 24, we had an increase to the gate fee, and then we did it again in 2025. So that could be a little bit of it.
Yeah, I think that's. a good-
And the other thing that everyone has to remember is it is very dependent on the weather too. So just because you increase the gate fee doesn't necessarily always pan out exactly how you want, because you might have a rainy summer.
Is it the law of thermodynamics? Isn't that?
Yeah,
what
so
it
if you
is?
go
That
back,
23, someone pointed out that 23 year was a pretty rainy summer.
well, and if you look at this, if I'm reading this right, go back.
Oh,
if you would,
okay.
John, to that, or whoever's running this.
This one here?
Yeah. So the revenues, if I'm looking at this right, because I think we increased it 50 cents in 2024, and the most recent one was at $1 or $1.50.
I think it was $1.50 the last time, I think, and then the first one was lower, like 50
So
cents or
obviously the
$1.
staff's done a good job down there with rentals and lessons, and congratulations, by the way. 5-year process, but you finally pulled it off. Good job. But
He
here's
didn't
my
have any
concern.
gray in his beard just last year, right?
Here's my concern. When you look at, if we increase the revenues, what, 12% or 15%, whatever we did, revenues only went up $1,000. So, someone once brought up, where's that sweet spot of entrance fees versus quantity of people attending? And I would assume that the number of people attended must have been down this year, if our revenues are only up $1,000. So, because you would think if attendance just stayed status quo, you'd see a 15% increase in revenues, which would have been like $75,000. So I'm just wondering what we're seeing there, and if it was weather related or cost related, but I know you're going to give us a 3-minute presentation here in a minute, so you can do.
People, we average about 688 this year a day, and last year we averaged about 833.
Wow, that big of a decrease.
We did put the price up $1.50.
Was it that? Is that what it was?
I don't know.
Can't remember. Okay, well, what other good news, Peter?
Just some takeaways. Again, like we did with Cherry Days, just some thoughts from staff for you to think about. We talked about how revenues have increased. Sounds like we need to dig into that a little bit more and determine sort of the underlying factors. Areas to improve that we've thought about, and these are just sort of general high level. What can we do to improve our concessions? That's been a discussion in the past. It looks like our swim lessons have kind of flatlined. Is there a way to maybe push that up a little bit? There's the discussion of the year round that we'd had earlier. We're going to talk about a little bit later on in the meeting. And just some things to think about. So, any other ideas? That's kind of what I wanted to finish up with.
Council, any feedback?
I don't know how hard it would be, but it seems like it'd be very hard. But average temperature in any given year, so we could see it was a really hot year, so we can see, oh, that's why that one was a little higher. How many rain days there were in the summer? I don't know if that's something that is. I mean, you can go to weather.com or something and try to figure it out, but is that something well, maybe Justin will touch on that. So I'm just getting into the weeds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
But again, you said that doesn't cover depreciation, the fact that we have to,
Costs.
save for $300K a year to Yeah,
Correct.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Right. That part of it is
Right,
not,
that's the party pooper, but yeah. Okay.
yeah, right.
I'm gonna celebrate for a second.
I know, that's right.
Any-
long.
Anything else?
Get tweaks 20 seconds.
Some congratulations here.
Did you want to
Yeah,
say something, you
it's really
guys, while you're
great.
here? Now's the time, I think, isn't it? Or was it going to be down during your presentation, Councilmember Watson? When would you like them to address the issue?
I'm happy with whatever you'd like to do.
Come on up, Justin. I mean, this is historical.
This is really exciting. Congratulations.
Yeah.
A lot of work. huh?
Good.
Yeah.
It's good.
So we do have those numbers. We can pull up the patron average and compare that with our rain days, the lightning strikes, how many times we had maintenance closures, things like that. So we have all that. We can give you some reports on that. We're just super excited that we still have a job down there, huh? Yeah. One reason the swim lessons flatlined is we cut out a session because we had to do some more staff training with 15-year-olds. So we had to actually eliminate one full session. And so we're still doing good on swim lessons for being able to eliminate one session. I guess we're going to do the 3-minute presentation first, huh? All right. So in 2025, this is what we did at North Shore. North Shore, first of all, I'm Justin, and Kylie, she is the recreation coordinator down there. I don't know if you guys have met her in person, but what a great asset she has been this year. So this year down at North Shore, we employed 107 employees, which that does not include myself or Kylie. We had over 4,500 training hours. We had 12 graduates from our leadership and training management leadership training program. These are the ones that will probably be our leaders in North Shore or other places that they go. These are a lot of times third-year employees. Our attendance and passes, we averaged, we talked a little bit about it before, but 688 people a day through the season. We had 141 private group reservations through the summer. We sold 263 punch passes and 363 punch passes for residents. Those are the ones that the residents get the discounts. And our average temperature for the summer was 87 degrees. Some of our staff training and our safety and training, we did over 15 hours of community service around our facility. We like to keep it clean, so we went around and cleaned up the lots, and things like that. We had 79 routine rescues. That might have been something from a save in the water to a reaching assist. We had five major EAPs where we had to activate our emergency action plan. We had dislocated shoulders, diabetic emergency seizures, and et cetera. So we're well trained, and we worked them this last year. We had 46 lifeguard certifications. Again, we had over 4,500 hours in training, and we also taught over 1,500 kids in swim lessons this year. Some of our events, we held the Flick and Float. We had over 500 people. We had a great sponsor of Ultimate Car Wash and M&K Graphics help sponsor that one. We had 2 ramp days where we were able to get almost 4,000 people in for free in those 2 days. So about 2,000 people each time. And it was a busy day. Benny's Boat Race, we had 12 boats this year, probably because it was a little late in the evening. So we'll try a little earlier in the season, but that was a lot of fun. The summer's back to school stomp wasn't a huge success because it was impacted by the wildfire. We actually had the wildfire the same time we had the dance. And so I think a lot of people were more concerned about what they should have been concerned with than coming to the dance. And then
I just want to say something about that real quick. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
I dropped off my daughter to that dance the day of the fire. And it was actually really good for her because she was anxious, she was nervous, and it helped her out. So it was kind of weird that we had that going on at the same time, but
yes,
a personal testimonial for you.
It wasn't a huge success, but we did have a few attend. And then we had our third annual Canine Kerplunk, and it just keeps doubling in size. We had 124 dogs this year, and it was a lot of fun. So we ended up the season with that. So that's kind of North Shore 2025 season. We're gonna now just have a nap, right, and start again pretty soon.
So Justin, the next item coming up, well, 2 down the road, is talk about utilizing the Aquatic Center in the winter. I know you've got a drive ahead of you. Would you like to render any of your thoughts now and then so you can leave early, or do you want to stick around?
Well, I'd love to hear what we're all gonna talk about. I don't have a dog in the fight. I will do whatever because I love my job down there. And if that's something that the community wants and we're going to do, I'm going to give it 100%. I think it could be a great asset for a lot of people. I also think it'll be a lot of work and a lot of money. You asked about why there was a wide range of the cost between the bubble and, like I said, I'm going big. If we're going to do it, we want a permanent structure where we can peel back the roof and use it year round. Maybe we want to go a little cheaper, and that might be something we can do. But if you're talking to me, we're going to go big, and we're going to do it, and we're going to make it right. So I'm here to do whatever we're going to do. Whatever you decide, I'm doing it.
Okay, thank you.
Great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for all you.
Thanks for all that you do.
Yes, Councilmember Severing.
I just have one question for you, Justin. I know that's so exciting to see that $16,000 there, right?
Well,
What's
yeah,
that?
I said, well, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was 16.
Yeah,
right?
well, it's better than zero, right?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I just have one question because last time we were discussing improving the concession profits, it seems to me there was somebody at Maverick who said, well, we get everybody who comes here for the slushies.
Yes.
So do we have a slushie machine yet down at the park,
We do, but if my buddy at Maverick, when I go in to get my morning drink, my morning fix, he'll ask me, so when are you opening again so I can order my slushies? I think here is like the top 10 seller of slushies in the state for Maverick because of our aquatic center. So we need to get more slushie machines down at, sell them in the parking lot, or we need to sell them out of my truck, right?
Well, I really kind of said that a little bit sarcastically, but obviously it was, it's making money for Maverick, so it could make money
Yes,
for us.
we definitely help Maverick, and we're excited to try to make more money this next year doing something different.
Good job.
Thank you.
Councilmember
just-
Delpas.
Couple more questions, sorry.
Sure.
I know we're going late tonight. So there's been a few things thrown out lately. There has been a suggestion from the Citizen Budget Committee to explore opening on Sundays. And also I want to get your take on that. Do you think opening on Sundays, from your professional opinion, would be easy to get staff, difficult to get staff? You have no idea. What is your initial pulse on Sunday operation?
What do you think? We've talked a lot about this. Come on up. Yeah. My opinion, my professional opinion, I think it'll be difficult to get staff.
Okay.
I don't think it's impossible. I think there might need to be an incentive and it would have to be some people, like you have a set schedule. I also think that if we open on Sunday, it would either have to be for maybe just public swim or just a reservation. I don't think both. I don't think I'd want to run a swim lesson program in there. I wouldn't want to run everything. Let's just have public swim, or let's just have a reservation on Sunday. The water needs to rest, and my staff needs to rest. We go 6 days a week, all summer long. Even if we're not there, I'm concerned about what's going on down there. Kylie's concerned about and I know on Sunday, at least I don't have to worry about what's going on down there. That's
That's a good take. I
that's
appreciate that.
Justin's professional opinion is I need a day to not worry about what's going on.
Okay. And given the bubble situation, do you think it would be difficult to staff year round? Do you think it'd be more difficult because, it's a typical summer job for people to be lifeguards? Is it going to be difficult to find people to work in the middle of the winter to be able to maintain that area and lifeguard, et cetera?
Depending on the hours we do our bubble. If we do our bubble, we kind of proposed 4 to 10 at night. I think that's possible. If we're wanting to do early morning water aerobics, it's going to be difficult to find a lifeguard and maybe a cashier that only
Wants to wake up
work.
early?
Yeah. Well, or wants to, I'm not going to be able to find a school. Yeah. A school-aged kid.
Okay. Thank you.
So, yeah.
Thank you to both
Thank
of
you.
you.
Anything else? No, we'll move on to item number 10. Mr. Call is going to talk to us about the 2025 Barker Park Amphitheater season.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So I specifically did not include numbers in the staff report because we were just double checking. I was checking all my sources to make sure we captured everything. But we had 11 total activities at the amphitheater, and that's excluding the fireworks, luau, kind of that Cherry Days week stuff. So if you include those, then you could call it 13. We estimate about 350 to 3,500 folks attended based on what we saw in attendance as well as ticket sales. Rental revenue was about $3,500. Total ticket revenue for the 2 paid shows, Bye Bye Birdie and Newsies, was just over $21,000. And of that, between the revenue or the donations, the tickets, and the rentals, and the advertising, the city itself got about $15,200. And that includes taking out the money that, if you remember, Far West gave Bye Bye Birdie some money and said, we want our $5,000 back if you make money. That $15,000 does not include that $5,000. So if you include that in, it would be about $20,000. But this also includes about $5,000 that came from Newsies for our portion of that contract. This is the breakdown by event. The 2 most expensive events were Newsies and Bye Bye Birdie. Newsies got a ramp grant, which helped cover a significant portion of the cost, if not all the cost, which is why both Broadway on the side and the city ended up making money out of that. Bye Bye Birdie got a significant number of donations. Several, or at least 2 groups gave $5,000 donations. And then you can see the others are pretty much rental revenues for a full day activity or evening activities. But those are the events. If you were to total the nights or the days of activities, the actual events was about 26 calendar days. And I think it's safe to assume that there were another 20 to 30 days of rehearsals as well. So the amphitheater was used somewhere between 30 and 60 days fairly regularly, which for some of that, we made it very clear we didn't want them using the sound system to, reduce the impact on the neighbors. But for probably a good 30, 35 days, there was full light sound speakers going on or day activities.
So John, just to simplify this in our discussion, I think you said we netted $4,700 from Newsies, about $3,200 from Bye Bye Birdie. We know of this point. I know it's not.
It was 3,200. And like I said, I went back to Stacy and we were double checking all our donations. It ended up being closer to $7,000 by the time we.
And we get half of that, or is that our?
But that's all of ours.
Okay. What do you attribute the success of Newsies to?
I think the success of Newsies was the the walk-on roll by the mayor.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking. Thanks for the right answer there, John. I appreciate that. So the bottom line is we've got about $11,000 positive that we can invest in future activities there. Is that correct? Is that about right?
Yeah, I mean, it could in theory be
Around there.
closer to, yeah, because the $5,000, we didn't make any sort of commitment on what it would be used for. With the Bye Bye Birdie group, we did kind of say, hey, this money should go towards future events.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't it towards future plays specifically?
Well, it was community events.
Okay.
And we had a debrief with them that was very much, they haven't asked for any strings or anything. We've asked them if they would put on a show again next year, and do a similar thing, because they really went out and shook the trees and found folks. And like Newsies, both those plays were quite successful. I felt like both were very good.
Well, that's the purpose. There's a community gathering center. It's there, might as well be used, right?
Yeah. And then this is just we saw the back end of Bye Bye Birdie. And so you can see, this is how many tickets were sold. Really, it's the general admission and the VIP that really go. But another good example is this group also sold concessions. And again, they just rolled all the money to the city. They did all the extra effort to help push and help future events. Both Bye Bye Birdie and Newsies had close to 1,000 people attend. Newsies had a much larger cast, so it really impacted a lot more families. But really just, I think, a fairly good success. And I'm trying to think how much busier we'd want that to be. The nice thing about it, let's see, I missed on one of my slides, but only 2 of the 11 events were really paid events. Some of them were sponsored by a group and then they brought people in. But people could have attended 9 of these 11 events for essentially free. And you could include the Cherry Days events that were free as well. So there was some really fun opportunities this summer for folks. And I should give a shout out to Bryce for helping me pull he built the presentation and I tweaked the numbers as I was doing the accounting and he was doing the presentation side, but he was instrumental in making the presentation and everything a success this year. He really took the amphitheater on. And we've got a new plan for next year with another employee who has some interest in that area, helping us with the scheduling. And Bryce will still help us with the technical aspect of it, because we're turning him into a theater geek. So, and that's
Member Watson?
that's my presentation.
I was just wondering, isn't this about the time of year that we need to get the rights to future plays for next summer?
So this normally would be the time. I think that what we would want to do is come to the council with a presentation of if the city was going to sponsor a show, what that show would be and how we would put that together. That will most likely, with our meeting schedule, be in January when we have that conversation. But I really would want a whole lot more numbers. The nice thing is, to the mayor's point, there's about $11,000 that could go towards buying rights and getting things going. And I just think that it kind of, with Stacy and Megan's work, they've really helped kind of catapult the amphitheater into being a facility that, again, kind of covers the operational expenses down there, not the capital. We built that building to be fairly maintenance free. There's not exterior paint and things to worry about, but it will not last forever. And we're not making enough money to replace it when it wears out. Assume that it's a 50-year building, as most government buildings kind of are. So.
And the great thing about it was, I think these type of events, we didn't have parking or traffic problems. The 2 big events, Cherry Days and
the luau we did,
and Cherry Days, and then with our Christmas to North Pole, and I think we're trying to work that out with scheduling.
Yeah, just as a teaser for the North Pole, we told them they could not run shows every 30 minutes. They had to space it out further to allow people to get in and out of the park, and they've been accepting with that. you know, and then obviously Santa and the hot cocoa just runs. So.
Yeah,
Okay.
to the police department's
questions?
credit, they with them having the barricades on the one side of the street this year at the heavy events, I think that helped a lot.
Okay. Thank you, John. Now you're going to talk to us about the utilization of the aquatic center in the winter.
And Justin has done a lot of the heavy lifting on this. And so he actually did a presentation for this as well. I'll let him step up here in just a second.
To the left.
But I wrote the staff report that kind of focused on some very loose ballpark numbers in conversations with Justin on what it would take to keep that facility running. You know, a good example is right now, Kylie is not a full-time employee. She has another job where she's a full-time employee. So she's only here 25 hours a week. Yeah. But, and so in the off season, we typically ramp down our staffing a little bit. There's a lot of maintenance and things that go on. And then the hiring process is a big part of the spring season. And then in the staff report, I tried to put some estimates together of how we would anticipate heating the pool, heating the dome, chlorine expenses, all those things come into play. And you can see from the stuff, and as was mentioned earlier by one of the swim team members, we really need about 50 people a day, you know, for those 6 days a week to make it break even operationally based on those loose numbers. That doesn't cover the capital and the big tension that the council will wrestle with in this conversation as it moves forward is what amount of sales tax, because that's really the money that we're spending to subsidize these sorts of things, the council wants to put towards these facilities. A good example is our parks are heavily paid for by sales tax. As you all know, it's fairly easy to assume our property tax is used by the public safety department because their budget exceeds our property tax income. So sales tax really covers all the extra stuff. Philosophically, as you know, I mean, you can tell I like theater, I like arts and park stuff. And I'm the one who wrote the staff report that said I wouldn't recommend this. And I really struggle with recreational facilities that charge a fee and use tax dollars. I feel like if the facility can pay for itself without tax dollars, then it seems something that maybe government should dabble into. Or it should be free. And that's my tension is if there's not a free option like parks, you can go and enjoy a park for free. I struggle, but so that's just my philosophical thing. Justin can provide you the details of the lap pool dome and what he kind of put together in the presentation. There's a wide range from really cheap domes that are the inflatable bubbles that won't last many years to Justin's go for the gold. But how would you say it, Justin?
Good, better, better.
If he's going to do it, he's going to do it all the way. Yeah. And honestly, maintenance wise, this would be a much better option. Maybe, Justin, it's just better for you to come up and talk about it. Understanding, council, that this conversation is we're barely peeking the door open to decide, do you want more information and to have a future conversation where you make a decision, or do you want to, just say, maybe not. And like Justin said with the winter thing, most of the folks at city who work for the city are passionate about what we do, but we don't get hurt if council doesn't take our recommendation. So if you want to put a dome and keep it open year round and use property or sales tax dollars to pay for it, you're not going to offend me, Justin, Dave, anybody. We will support the council and the city. That's part of the reason we enjoy our job is you make the hard decisions and we just have to march.
Just do the work. Yeah. All right. So this presentation is basically some broad numbers of what I've looked into in the last couple weeks with Kylie's help, so I might be pulling her up. But here's some benefits of having the dome. A lot of them were touched on while we had the public comments. Obviously, there's places for youth to be, but then there's also places for the seniors, more fitness program, private events, things like that. There is potential for group reservations. It also extends the life, I guess it extends our season, excuse me, is what I meant to say. It also, since we're not having to shut down a pool, winterize things like that, it also is a little better on some of the maintenance of the pool. And we're not having to do that shutdown, winterization, fire up. It's just constantly running, and we can just do that maintenance, the routine maintenance. So those are some of the benefits. Here's what we were talking about. This is the big money. This is the go big. This is kind of the dome that we've been talking about. And it's amazing. Now we can do something a little bit different, but let's watch this. This would be Justin sitting in his office just pushing a button on a beautiful day. This is a permanent structure, so this would be something that we wouldn't have to close down the pool for 2 weeks to put that bubble on. Those air domes, you're down a week to 10 days putting an air dome on and then taking it off another 10 days in the summertime. So these open and close in about the size that we have. We could do it in about 1.5 minutes, about 40 seconds one way, I think.
So this is just the lap pool. That's what we were talking
This is just the lap pool. Yep. Leisure pool, there's probably no way to do it the way that the pool is designed and then the height of our play structure. But if we do a dome like this over the lap pool, we did take into account for the high dive. So this is the cost estimate is right around, for the air dome is about 300,000 to 1.6 million to get that permanent structure, where we've talked about putting that on the end of the locker rooms, where you could walk right out of the locker room right into the close facility, and that would be there all year round. So that's kind of what we looked at. Looked at staffing. Like John said, we'd have to have, depending on how many we needed to staff and how many people were there, to break even, we'd need about 34 to 54 people a day. That would just pay for our staffing. Not, like John said, not to pay for the dome, not anything like that, but just to break even on for the staff that is there. The chemical costs, we did there's a broad range there. I don't anticipate it being 11,000 per month, because that's what we don't even use quite that much on both pools in the summer, but close to that, but not quite. I would say it's closer to that 35, probably 4,000 a month in the chemical. Your acid is $5 a gallon, and your chlorine is $4.77 a gallon. And we use about 70 gallons a day, 70 to 100 gallons a day during the summer. So we wouldn't have the sunshine or the bather load, so we wouldn't have to use that much. Some things that we don't know the cost, and we anticipate that we will have to pay for, is snow removal, cleaning associated with winter operation, equipment usage, heating the pool. We're going to have to heat that building, and the routine upkeep. We just don't know exactly the good numbers on that yet. I'm sure it's not going to be free. We want to take care of our stuff and make sure that it's operating correctly. So we're going to have to, it's going to take money to make money, right? So anyway, this is what we're looking at. Our total estimate to get that for the first year of operation for our first season would be 1.8 million. That'd be staff, chlorine, and the dome. And that's kind of what the dome would look like over the pool. So, like I said, it's real rough, but I'm happy to answer any questions maybe that I can.
What questions might you have? Councilmember Watson?
So, in the comments that were listed earlier today, I'm not trying to assume that 100% of all the comments were perfectly accurate, but assuming that we did put time into researching what numbers were perfectly true. Let's say for a second that there were swim teams willing to pay $10,000 to $20,000, and there was at least 2 schools who were willing to do that. That is not included in your cost estimates. Is that correct?
It was not, because I didn't want to put something there that I couldn't promise.
Right. And then also the Piranha Club, again, if this is true, that it's $85 to $115 a day, that wasn't included in your estimates either,
Correct.
which would be 2,000 to 3,000 a month. So 2,500 per school, plus 2,500, say, for the Piranha Club, that's 7,500 per month from just those 3 schools. That's not including water aerobics classes or water polo teams or whatever
But-
else was announced, but
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the facilities that run almost all day long. What he said was it'd be 4 to 10. So I don't know how many people we could actually.
well, the
From all
kids
those-
can't come to practice swim when they're at school.
True, but the most of the people are talking to 5 a.m. You heard them; they weren't here for. I mean, I
They
guess.
practice from 5 to 7 because
Well,
school
what
starts.
I'm saying is that you can't have 17 teams. I'm exaggerating in a 6-hour period, is what I'm saying. So I mean, there's a finite
Your
number of
practices
people.
are 2 hours a day, and there's 3 teams I'm talking about here. That would be 6 hours, which is
If
from
there's 3
4 to
teams, but
10.
I know there's more than 3. All I'm saying is that we need to make sure that we're not putting all the eggs in there and going, oh yeah, we're going to get $50,000 a month, but yet we can't fit those many.
I'm just estimating 7,500 is all from 3 teams.
Yeah, and talking to a Piranhas, he was excited that we were actually talking about this tonight, and he said, just tell council tonight that I would sign an annual contract right now if I could. So he's excited. He doesn't want to go to South Ogden. He loses a lot of kids. They love North Shore. So I think we could get some of that back, but I didn't put that in the cost. This was just what would it cost if we used it for birthday parties and open swim. So we definitely could utilize it in other places.
Justin, I'm just kind of curious. So, I mean, I know that wasn't the exact, I mean, as far as like the functionality, it's what we're looking at, right?
Right.
Is what you're recommending.
Yep.
My sons were involved they worked at North Shore. They were on the swim team at Weber. That certainly doesn't seem large enough to accommodate like kind of a regional swim. Team meet kind of a thing. I mean, are there going to be places in there where we can put like bleachers or is this just going to be basically kind of more of a
It would,
practice?
right now, the footprint that we measured out is the concrete around the lap pool. So gives us about 20 feet, 30 feet around the whole pool. So we could have some small bleachers, but I don't think you could have a huge meet or anything like that.
So basically it's a practice facility that can then be complemented with rentals and
Yes.
aerobics and so forth like that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't anticipate having, like, we couldn't put a lot of bleachers in there unless we extended some concrete, and then we're going to be costing more money. So.
Other questions for Justin? All right, council, how would you like to proceed?
I would be interested to hear more. We're not voting tonight to say yes to the bubble. We're voting to hear more. And to me, it sounds like there's a lot of different groups that we could find out if they want to sign a contract or not, get that soft answer from them. We could also figure out more of what the bubble cost is. Right now, the estimate is a huge range on there, and we could get a little bit more. But just indulge me for a second. I'll tell you a story. Yesterday, I went to as part of my role as a key leader on the Weber CTC, I was invited to the Governing Youth Council event last night. And we broke up into these groups and we had these different exercises. This is a youth substance prevention and mental health group. And the teenagers who were in my group, there were several of them, 8, 10, 7, I can't remember, but all of these youth were asked pretty intense questions about mental health. And there were a handful of adults in this group as well. And we heard from them what they feel like it is the reason why there's all these issues. And there were several answers that had to do with, well, kids are on their phone too much. And then the question was next, well, how can we address this? How can we solve this? And the kids yesterday, they're out of their own mouths. They were the ones saying we need more events and activities where we have this engagement that's a positive, a commitment with positive engagement and beyond teams. And there's too many teams that cut kids and, you try out and then you don't have some kind of event. And I just feel like, in my point of view, this mental health challenge is a crisis right now. And the more that we can provide youth engaging hobbies and sports and activities and clubs where they can be around people and not on their phones, that is a huge benefit to me and that's worth fighting for to me. And I am not saying that I'm voting yes for a bubble and the cost and whatever it costs to tax dollars. Right now, all we're voting on and asking is, do we want to research more? Do we want to invest staff's time and energy on finding out if this is worth it? And so my answer is yes.
I would actually recommend some additional inquiries as well. I really anticipated, when we were discussing it earlier, I really anticipated a lot more money. I was picturing 5 to 10, I don't know why, but I was thinking 5 million plus to be able to do something like that. So the 1 point, it'll be nice to see a refined cost, but I thought that was relatively doable, especially I'm not looking for soft commitments like Councilwoman Watson, but I'd like a hard commitment from these individuals that they're going to be willing to make that kind of contribution. So, but yes, let's look into it.
Councilmember Pulver.
So I think this goes back to philosophy, and I don't disagree. It's an awesome thing to do. I think it comes down to where are we putting the burden to? Are we putting it to the actual people that are going to be using it? The answer is no. And I think that's the thing that we need to, and I think maybe what I would suggest is tabling until we go through our yearly prioritization of things that we need to work on. Was it November 21st? Because to be honest, I think any further work on this that requires extra money that people that are not going to be using it are going to pay for, I think I just looked up what Clearfield earlier, what their expense was and what their revenue was for their pool. 2.4 million for expense, 1.5 for revenue. I don't want to dig a hole. I don't want to dig another hole. I think the key thing is that if we make it a priority in our city, then let's do it. But when we have 17 priorities right now, one of them is roads, that I can't think of a way we're digging out of that. But to add another one, to have staff go down a hole that I don't think is going to make the priority list, I think we table it to the 21st. And if council comes up with this as one of the top priorities, then yes, let's go have staff do it. But at this point, no.
So Councilman,
Let's see. Did you have a comment, Councilmember Severing?
yeah, I'm sorry about that, Mayor. I was just thinking, I don't think there's anything wrong to have some additional exploratory between now and then, but.
Staff has a limited amount of time.
Okay.
Councilmember Dalpaz, did you have a comment?
I can't remember the exact results because I was only in high school, but I think I remember the history is that the bubble idea was voted on in a bond Am I off? I don't remember. It was forever ago. So anyways, I guess the answer to that doesn't necessarily matter, but we did have one resident that commented at the beginning of the meeting that, this is something that should be voted on by the people. I can think of, this seems like something that would probably make sense to go to a vote of the people. Because if the majority of the people agree that it's something that should be a priority for the city, then it moves forward. If a majority of the residents believe it shouldn't be a priority, then it's squashed. It seems like that's probably the most logical route.
You want staff researching stuff right now?
I don't see what's so pressing to like immediately just get excited and have the staff running and figuring everything out for it right now. Because I honestly don't even know. I can't even remember how did this come on the agenda today? What was the history of that?
Emails and then a survey. It was a survey.
In our council rules and procedures, any council member can add an item to the agenda. It's
okay.
If it's a resident request, and it takes 2 council members.
I just couldn't remember the history on it. Okay,
Hey,
thanks.
John, can I ask a question? And I understand where Councilmember Dalpaz is coming from. But it would seem like to me you go to the public for a vote if you're incurring debt. Otherwise, the council's been elected by the citizens to make these decisions. I mean, when do you decide what to go to a vote with the public on and not? I'm just asking for advice here because is it over a certain dollar amount? Because, what happens is, as I said in my last article, and this has nothing to do with this council, but it applies, I think, in this situation, is bad public officials are elected by those who don't vote. And we know that we've got about maybe a 40% vote. So where do you see, John, this coming into what goes to the citizens for vote versus what goes to the citizens for election of people to represent them?
So when you're doing a GO bond, which is a general obligation bond, is when the citizens vote. And Councilmember Dalpaz is correct. In 2007, there was a vote for a $2 million bond for a bubble or a roof for the aquatic center. Same size, same area. Was the lap pool was what was proposed.
So I guess I just don't want to get too ahead of ourselves because I'm just worried that we just celebrated a break-even year for the aquatic center. And it's almost like immediately, hey, we make the decision. Hey, we had a really good year where we made $17,000. Oh, but that's not including the capital expenditure or the capital expenses that will, the appreciation expenses that go along with it. And so that's what kind of worries me is I just don't want to jump too enthusiastically into it. I haven't formed an opinion officially of where I'm at, but it kind of feels like I'm not for it right now because it's kind of like all of the different priorities that we are trying to provide our citizens with as a community right now. And I mean, man, we have got hammered at our truth and taxation meetings the last few years. And think about the feeling of getting hammered even more in that truth and taxation meeting when it wasn't necessarily a necessity. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm leaning right now, but I don't know if we actually have to vote tonight on if staff time is expended on this. I'm not totally against them doing a little bit of research. I just don't want them to get too ahead of their skis.
I think.
Hey, Mayor.
Councilmember Barker.
Sorry, I was just trying to wait for a pause. Okay. Just my thoughts. I'm actually in favor of looking into it a little bit more, and I don't want to speak for Justin, but when is a good time for Justin to look into whether a bubble makes sense is during the off season when the pool's not open. So for us to delay and say we want to look into it in the future, well, next season is going to be pretty busy. So I'd say, why don't we look at it right now while we have the interest? And then you also asked all the students that came, and this go to their respective cities and see if they'll go and pitch it to their city councils as well. If they go and pitch it to their councils and they get support from neighboring cities to help out, then and we don't go proceed on our end, are we doing our own selves a disservice?
I think we actually own the facility, so we make the final decision.
Agreed.
But I think Councilmember Pulver had a good point that maybe we should consider, because I think it would be somewhat disrespectful not to pursue this with people coming. However, if you'll recall, Councilmember Pulver said, well, why don't you make a presentation like the people at the dog park? That way they're doing the research and they're making the presentation if we're concerned about, staff time. And I felt some passion here, so maybe there's a member that would take that on and do the research. I mean, there's a lot of information out there. I was just read, I guess, somebody in North Carolina, Greenville, North Carolina, did this back in 2023. It was $2 million for the cover, and they had to do that because they put a bubble and it was vandalized and sliced. So you can expect with what we see in vandalism at other places, you may want to do something that's prohibited. But why couldn't we, if there's enough passion about that, why don't we have a citizen like the individual with the dog park take this on, and then the council can make a decision then, and it satisfies both things. I'm just saying that, there seems to be passion, and if it's a citizen-led thing and they want to do the research and make the presentation, what's the downside there? Just a thought.
I do like the idea. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I do like the idea of the residents approaching their municipalities and throwing out the idea, hey, would you be willing to donate a certain amount to North Ogden, because it is for our benefit as well. That
you see a mix of students, right? Plain City.
Yeah, it was a
Pleasantview,
wide variety of
Hempstead.
cities that everyone was from in this meeting. So that would be very interesting to see if they were able to convince their cities to make a donation. But in the end, we are the final city that is burdened with whatever is put over that pool. Okay, that sounds a little extreme. I'm saying burden, but I'm just saying it's a cost.
Responsible for.
Yeah, it's so in the end, say you have Pleasant View and Harrisville come to us and say, okay, we will give you a $20,000 annual commitment to this pool. Well, the administration in either of those cities can change, and then immediately that could be taken away because someone says, I'm not spending $20,000 of taxpayer money on that. So anyways.
Yeah, I think Councilmember Pulver has a good point. I know I received some information during the meeting that Rupert did this, and they raised, donations to do it. I think the point of having the presentation show that there's no additional burden placed upon the taxpayers, with some room for error, by the way, because things don't always turn out. There's another thing, and I might have to get an escort out with Brenda, but we have Lieutenant Long here, so I'm feeling good. I'm feeling okay. There is another thing that is a possibility. When they talk about rec center, et cetera, the question comes, should government be competing with private enterprise? If that thing's going to be profitable, but it could be profitable, maybe you pursue a sale of that to somebody who has the money, a private enterprise that could build a rec center as part of that facility. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can look at to see if it meets the needs of the citizens. It doesn't have to always be government sponsored. And I'm not proposing, I'm just saying, the proposal ought to include that. Because if there's a private enterprise out there that wants to use that as a basis and add on to it with a recreation center for use by the citizens, then maybe that's the situation. But anyway, I would be propose that, we have the citizen-led situation, and if they want to make a presentation for the council to consider. Budget season will be coming up here in a matter of time. Councilmember Watson?
Yes, I have several things. First of all, I just have a question, I guess, of how to make this expectation from the public, these swimmers, to make some kind of presentation be not vague, because to me it seemed like there was a lot of passion in the room, and not even half of the swimmers that were here got up to the microphone. And so if we want to have some kind of expectation, I think we need to make sure it's not vague, because there was a lot of passion to me in the room and sacrifice for them to be here and to come. And I'm sure that they could come up with some more research, and I'm not saying that they can't, but let's just make that more specific. Like, do they need to find funds, promised funds that they can, fundraise for, or do they need to have, estimates on what these bubbles cost? What specifically do we need them to come up with? The other questions that I had were, it seems like recently we said that there wasn't a ramp grant opportunity for us this year to look into. And so that would be something that I'd be really curious of pursuing and finding out if we could use that here. Flash vote could get the population's viewpoint pretty quickly and easily. We could have that by next week. And we also want to wait to see on whether neighboring cities want to contribute. So I feel like there's a lot of questions here. And like Councilman Barker said, I feel like maybe it was the mayor that said it would be kind of unfair to all the people who came to say, we don't want to look into it anymore. We don't want to find out the answers to all these questions.
So wonder if I made this proposal, because I will be retiring from the mayor here in a short period of time. Wonder if I volunteered to be a resource to the group in helping him put a proposal together to get the information. More than happy to do that as a community member, and having seen many proposals made over the years, just so we don't waste the council's time if it's too generic. Or more than happy to be a resource, but I don't want to get in the citizens' ways either. So more than happy to look at doing that. It's much cheaper than the divorce fees. My wife said I could retire if I stayed out of her hair, and she's asking now what I'm going to do. So, but happy to do that if that makes any sense. What do you think, Councilmember Watson? Is that reasonable offer, or is that?
I mean, yeah, guiding them. It seems to me that you feel strongly that this is not a way to spend tax dollars. And so if that were to squash their passions in just making a proposal, then I'd be a little hesitant with that. But if
Okay,
there was
I
a way that you
withdraw.
could guide them with them expressing their own thoughts and opinions, I would
hold
like
on.
to hear their thoughts and opinions.
I guess the point is that we're stewards of taxpayer money. We have a priority of all these things that we need to do in the city. One of them being $100 million that we need to fix roads. And I know this is a very passionate group, and I understand that the pool is something, that pool has been something they've been trying to cover since 2007. And I'm not trying to say we shouldn't. I'm just saying let's ease into this. I mean, the whole point is that in 3 weeks we're going to go talk about priorities. I mean, I don't know how else to say this without. This is important to a lot of people. At the same time, we are the stewards of the people, of a lot more people, of 22,000 people that have to say, are we going to have to pay more money to cover the pool? Anyway, sorry.
And yes, I'm not going to hide this. I do not think taxpayer dollars should be used to subsidize this situation, but I do believe there's a way, just like Rupert did, to make something happen without taxpayer dollars. And I think Councilmember Pulver has a point. As we are stewards of this, and we're sitting here trying to find money how to just meet basic needs. And I think fiscal responsibility of laying additional money on the taxpayers is not what they want. But I think there's a way that can make it happen. But if there's a feeling that I would be
I didn't mean to imply that.
what do you call it? What am I looking for, Councilmember Del Paz? If I'm too opinionated on one way, then
Biased.
And, you know, I would do that. I just volunteered to help. That's it. If they want my help, I'm available. If
I
not,
think that's a great idea.
if I'm not, if they don't, that's fine.
Yeah, funding.
Councilmember Severing.
Thank you. So I would never want my enthusiasm for this project to be misunderstood as being flippant about other priorities. I felt the passion when I saw that it was a reasonable cost. I thought to myself, you know what, this could be realistic. So please don't misunderstand. It wasn't trying to negate any other important priorities we have in the city. It just seemed like it was reasonable. It seemed reasonable. And I'm looking at Henderson Bird, and I know Henderson well enough that if we said, Henderson, let's get together, how many potatoes can Weber swim team sell? I mean, 1.8 million is not that much money anymore. So, I mean, I maybe I'm just too opportunistic or something like that, but I think this is very doable.
Well, I think I heard 3 council members say that it's worth pursuing. I guess the question is do we want staff to do it or do we want it to be citizen-led?
Citizen. I say citizen, but that's just me.
Councilmember Dalpaz, what do you think?
I liked the idea of citizen-led in the comparison that Councilman Pulver gave on the dog park proposal, because that gave us a really broad, good idea of what that individual and what that community would like for the city. It seems like it would be a positive thing to go in that direction. But I'm not absolutely against Justin using some time to look into this more. Councilman Barker had a very good point that I'm glad he pointed out that I hadn't thought of yet, is that this is his quote unquote off season. And so he can probably dedicate a little bit more time to look into this further. So I'm not married to either of these. So it seems like both would be fine for me, but I lean towards the citizen-led effort because we saw how positive that was with the dog park idea.
Let me ask Councilmember Barker. Do you want to pursue this citizen-led or do you want the staff to take this on?
I like the proposal you said, citizen-led with the help of the mayor.
I won't be the mayor then.
Okay, with the help of
I'll just be a
former Mayor
citizen.
Berube. Yeah, well, but I like that you volunteered to help him out to get a citizen-led group going.
Don't want them to, you know, spend a lot of time and not have the information
Right.
the council needs, so.
Resident Berube has a good ring to it.
Yeah, it does. Really good. Okay, sounds like to me that we'll ask whoever's remaining here from the group to get with Councilmember Barker, who's over, I think, that recreation. Is that correct? Parks and
Over recreation.
Parks?
She's
Is
over
that a
parks.
park?
I'm
What
over
is that?
recreation.
It technically would be Councilmember
Get with
Watson.
Councilmember Watson and see if you'd like to pursue that. And then she can convey that to the council. Yes, Councilmember Severing.
And Mayor, since my position is open and I will be available in a couple of months, I could also help.
Okay. Well, there you go. Okay. So contact Councilmember Watson if you're interested in pursuing this, and we'll go from there. All right. Thank you for that very good discussion. We'll now move on to the flash vote survey on neighborhood commercial as presented by Mr. John Call, our city attorney.
So council, we will make this quick. All these results were included in your packet. The purpose of this survey was to find out what the residents felt about small scale commercial. And when we say small scale commercial, think of it as this list of like coffee shops, bakeries, daycares, barbershops. It does include maybe potential for medical, dental offices, convenience stores, art galleries. And the overarching response was this: we're kind of open to the idea, but you got to do it right. And their biggest concern is traffic and parking and impacting the character of their neighborhood. And so with that, this kind of came out of the joint discussion that council had with planning commission. I think it's worthwhile to move down the road of trying to create something, but I think it's going to be heavily focused on what uses are allowed and, everything from building size to hours of operation the council would need to consider. And I just wanted to see if the council felt like I was actually quite surprised. Question 4, which was, do you support or oppose it? There is about a third of the people oppose. 16% are not, they don't have an opinion, but I was surprised that almost half of the folks felt like it was at least something to explore. And that's why I think my recommendation would be that you kind of give Scott's team the go ahead to start crafting an ordinance with the planning commission with a heavy focus on how do we make sure this doesn't impact the neighborhoods. And maybe it's even identifying specific locations where the location itself lends itself to not be impactful. A good example is in a future development up the hill where there aren't any houses. In theory, that would be less impactful because you're not going to be building it near a current resident, as opposed to trying to plop it down at 2600 and 550 East, for example. I guess that's just right here. So 800 East. So any questions, thoughts? That if you haven't been on this, and those of you who are in the room, you can do these surveys. These word clouds are probably my favorite part because you can read through the actual responses. And especially the last question, there's 80 different responses saying it works, it doesn't work. And those are the type of things I think the planning commission will need to review and make sure that if they do come back with a positive recommendation to you, that they're focusing on how they are minimizing these concerns and showing an actual benefit to the community, not just a, hey, we think it'd be cool and fun, but actually finding a way that it could work in the North Ogden that we want to live in 30 years. So. And if you haven't been on here, it's really fun to play with it by these responses. I think the age one is really fun. No one under the age of 30 took this survey. So it's all what would that be? Generation Y and older. So anyways, but you can, if you haven't signed up, you can get on there, sign up. It's just North Ogden Flash Vote. And you can sign up and take these surveys.
Thank you, John. Would you like to discuss the November meeting schedule?
I do.
Direction on that?
In order to
Did you need direction on that?
That's what I was wondering too.
Oh, I feel like I got kind of head nods. Again, this is nothing's really being voted on tonight, so I think Scott will take that and run with it. If you want to, so shifting to the next item, if you want to follow the laws of this land, you must meet before November 18th to officially approve the canvass results of the election. The election is on the 4th. Veterans Day is on the 11th. And our retreat is on the 21st. So we would suggest maybe you meet on the 18th, approve the border canvas, and any other small items which have to be approved in November so that you don't have to meet on the week of the 25th, which is Thanksgiving week. Although if you want to meet that week too, we can. We just thought that probably 3 meetings in 7 days might be a lot for the council to do. And there's recorder's office. So what we're proposing is 18th and 21st.
The only ones in November?
As the only meetings in November, although we could do a special meeting the week of the 11th, or that's technically the week of the 10th, on a Wednesday, Thursday, if council wanted to. But 18th would be more in line with our normal doings of things.
Does our schedule look like we need that additional meeting on the 11th, that week of the 11th?
We just need to do the canvas. We must approve the election canvas by the 18th.
By the 18th, okay.
So it's within 2 weeks of the election.
Yeah, I'm good with 18th and the 21st for November. I haven't looked far enough into December to see what that looks like, but yeah.
Okay. And then just so you know, December is usually a rough week for meetings too, so, or rough month. So we'll probably have a work session and a regular meeting on the second week, and then probably not have another meeting the rest of December, just because of the way it falls. Unless you want to come in on Christmas Eve, we can do that. Ryan does not want to. So anyways, again, we just kind of need, so we will announce that 18th as a special meeting because it's an off week for us. It's the third Tuesday. But with the holiday and the elections, it's about our only option. So, and then yes, a plug for the 21st meeting. It'll be our kind of our annual work session. We're going to hold it in this room, just because that other room is maybe a little small for all the council and all the department heads. So we're going to try and meet in this room. So that's it.
Okay, thank you, John.
Can I ask a question?
Councilmember
I'm still
Sever-
kind of confused then, John. So the 18th and the 21st, and then we needed to select a date of the week of the 11th?
No, we don't need to do the week of the 11th.
Okay, the 18th is when we're going to be looking at the election material then.
Yes.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Okay. We'll move on to item number 14 on our council agenda, which is department reports. John, I think you have the sales tax graph, is that correct?
I do.
I recall, as you pull that up, that it was a fairly good month from what we budgeted. Gives us year-to-date up about 1.8%, I think. Thus far, we were down, I think, 8 percentage the first month and up about 10 this month. So continues to zigzag around, but year-to-date, we're up, 1.27% collection over last year. I think anything positive thus far is good. So we'll take that as part of our report. Just the other thing I would report is I've looked through the financial statements as Peter sent those to me. I didn't see any expenditures that were way out of line. I think two things that are in our favor. We've already reached the budget for excavation permits this year, exceeded that, but building permits thus far are, we're through 3 months, which would be about 25% of our year. And I think we were at about 40-something% of building permits right now. So good start. I think at this point in time, interest is our friend too. Even though there's anticipated rate cuts throughout the year, but at this point in time, I would say interest is our friend. We're above budget there. Everything else seemed to be pretty much in line. So that's my succinct report. We'll go on now to Councilmember Pulver. If you have anything on Public Works you'd like to report.
Yes, sir. So 1700, and you've probably noticed that they're wrapping up, asphalt's going down to finish it up. And as we've seen snow on Ben's Peak there, that's kind of gotten us, snow plows are ready to go. And as you noticed, I don't know if, well, people have noticed, but they're moving the right behind here over so that more access to the senior center for the one-way versus dual. All the summer equipment's been winterized, which includes park bathrooms as well. I have not seen the leaf truck, but I have heard it's out because I've seen leaves disappearing off the curb, but it should be not in the curb and gutter. It should be on, and this is just a shout out, it should be on your park strip so that it does not foul up the storm sewer. Anyway, and following the same plan as last year, that we'll be by each of the homes about the day after your garbage day. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Watson?
We already heard from Justin. Katie didn't have anything, and Ryan is just reminding us to vote. This is all I have from administration
Thank
and
you.
recreation.
Mr. Call, anything you'd like to report on capital projects?
So the biggest thing, council, is as we had talked about for economic development reasons, the detention basin RFP has been, or contract has been awarded to do the design with JUB. We hope to have a finalized design end of November, beginning of December, so we can go out, start getting bids on that, so that that basin can be relocated in the spring and summer. And then the Barker Park bid has been awarded as well for that kind of ground level design or underground level design. And we anticipate that the council will see that in January. Well, sorry, no, that's way sooner. Sometime next year, the consultant will come back to the council with the 3 options that have been vetted through the staff group, and there'll be some public charrettes as well to kind of help get opinions on which of the 3 is kind of the preferred plan. Again, staying in line with those things the council has outlined. Soccer fields are allowed on the north section, and then the rest will kind of align with that plan that was, you've seen several times with the red buildings. It'll kind of not mirror, but it will focus heavily on those type of components. So, and that's it, other than the transportation utility fee will be a discussion for the council in December.
John, I assume you'll be bringing back to the impact fee, transportation impact fee recommendation here soon?
Yeah, we're starting the process. We've talked with a few engineering firms, and we will send out an RFP here soon and get that back to the council, hopefully in January, for kind of a ballpark discussion about it. So,
Yeah, I think just for the council's information, deciding how to make that property available for commercial use time is of the essence in regards to a potential situation there. So,
oh, yes.
yes, John.
I was thinking of the other transportation impact fee thing. So yes, the commercial transportation impact fee discussion that will be in December. Yep.
Okay, good. All right. Now is the time for public comments, round 2. If somebody would like to comment, I would just ask you to come to the podium, state your name if you're a resident of North Ogden, and please limit your comments to no longer than 5 minutes. So now would be the time. And John, if you'd watch online.
Hello, my name is Brian Edmonds. I'm not a resident of North Ogden, but I grew up here. And I'm sorry I showed up a little late for the pool discussion. There's just a couple of things that I wanted to add that I don't know if they got brought up earlier, but you talked a lot about timing and that there's no rush. One of the things I did want to point out is there is a really big opportunity specifically surrounding swimming coming up in our country, and that's in 2.5 years, we're hosting the Olympics. It's a pretty well observed phenomenon that historically, every 4 years, there's an uptick in Olympic sports participation coinciding with the Olympics. And especially when we're hosting it, it's expected to be bigger than ever, right? Especially where it's within driving distance. I would not want to lose that opportunity. The other side of it that we've talked a lot about is the funding. I absolutely agree. I don't think North Ogden should be the ones burdened with that cost. One of the things that I would suggest is putting a lot of pressure on Weber School District to help fund part of it. And the reason I say that is I had started to look into this a number of years ago and I didn't complete it, but I believe that Weber School District is the only school district with either a 5 or 6A school without a pool in the entire state. And so right now they are relying on Ogden School District, who recently, like 2 years ago, kind of held them over the fire, jacked up their rates to use the pools, and took advantage of them. Same thing happened with kind of the club swim teams as well. And so that's why I would say I think that's a great opportunity to pay for the upfront costs, right? Another thing that I would suggest is with the Olympics, I don't know if they're doing it. This is part of, some of the research that needs to be done. But in past years, there's been a lot of grants available for Olympic sports to help develop them locally. And so that's another thing that could maybe be looked into as well. So that's kind of the main things. Again, I apologize for missing earlier, but as a, Weber High swim team alum, as a former North Shore lifeguard, we love the pool. I could go on and on about the benefits that swimming has had in my life personally. But again, 5-minute limit, so I won't do that. Those are just the main points that I wanted to bring up today. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Ryan Lund. I'm from Ogden Valley City, so not too much skin in the game, but I do know Councilmember Severing's son. I did swim with Brian's sister, and I've known Henderson for the last few years as a fellow coach as well. Something that I've really appreciated you guys is taking the time to take this into consideration. I'm sorry that my petition was so well that it got on your docket. As of right now, we still have 413 people that actually petitioned or added that they wanted the bubble on North Shore. And that's not including the people that I've heard from Morgan, Perry, Pleasant View, Marriott Slaterville, Far West, and the entire valley. That's probably adding another 800 people to that. In the last few years, I've had the best experiences at North Shore working for the Piranha swim team as one of their coaches. And it was always one of their distraught feeling, or it was always hard for them to leave it to go to the Ogden Athletic Club down in South Ogden, which they do lose about 25 to 30% of their swimmers from North Ogden because it is such of a drive. Same with Pleasant View and everyone out Far West, Plain City area. They love it up here. I've loved coming down to this pool ever since I was an 8th grader. So yeah, a little bit after Brian left Weber, but it was great. Something to put into perspective as well, there's been a ton of people that don't want to go down to Ogden and use their pools at all. For some reason, it's a hassle for them. They don't keep their schedule up. So people get down there, pools closed for no apparent reason. They have to drive all the way back. And I know that that kind of distraughts a lot of your guys' citizens. Also, I've heard of people in this area wanting to open up a master's team. They don't want to use Ogden's pool. They want to use North Shore. Another club team wants to be built up this direction, preferably, namely from some people that I've talked to in Plain City. Water polo, half of my master's water polo team, there's about 30 on our roster. More than half live up this direction and would love to do everything down here or do it up here where it's closer. They have more access to get all people from Logan, Tremont, and everyone else in the area to come up this way. Love the pool. You guys are doing an amazing job here in North Ogden. I salute you. Your concerns of raising taxes, I agree. Not every citizen wants that. And I think we have enough backing, not only just here in North Ogden, but throughout all North and West and East Weber County to help support you guys through and through. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
You give us hope. It sounds like you got 1,200 people interested. It's only $2,500 a pop and we're there.
That's right.
Long meeting tonight. Good discussion though. Phil Swanson, North Ogden resident. JD, you mentioned about the history of the pool. If you remember, well, you may not remember, but back in roughly 2000, the residents were asked to vote on a GO bond to pay for the pool, and they said no. And city council went and built the pool anyway, against what the residents wanted. And then again in 2007, there was the vote on whether or not to cover the pool. The residents again said, no, we don't want to go into debt for doing that. So I think you have this fiduciary responsibility to the residents to spend our tax dollars, your tax dollars wisely. The cover that was shown on the in Justin's presentation earlier is the one up in Rupert, Idaho, that was just recently completed, and that was $3 million. It was completed back. The one in Greenville, South Carolina, was $2 million back in 2023. And they decided to go with that open close because the bubble that they had got ripped, knifed a couple of times, $600,000 each time that it was vandalized to replace it. So, I mean, huge cost if you go with one of those fabric kind of bubbles. I think it is important to get a feel for the entire community's feeling on spending this. Another piece about the Rupert, Idaho cover is that they had one couple, husband and wife, that donated $1 million out of that $3 million budget. So they got the seed going with $1 million donation. Mayor has kind of been hinting that maybe he would be willing to make that $3 million donation out of Gina's shopping fund. Don't tell her I said that. But I do think we need to hear, I think a flash vote poll would be appropriate to find out how residents feel about a $3 million cost. 600,000 is one thing, 3 million is something else. That's a pretty good chunk. By the time we got around to getting it built and everything, it would probably be 3.5 million, maybe a little bit more because of the way things are inflating. My last comment, though, is that I am going to go on a field trip. And if you'd like to attend, we can only have 2 council members attend because then we would have a quorum if we had more than that. So if you want to attend, Councilmember Watson, you got the first seat because you're over recreation. I'm going to go to Rupert, Idaho. And I'm going to meet with those folks, and I want to see this thing as a resident and somebody who may end up having to help pay for it. It's 2 hours. It's nothing. We can run up there. We can have a nice lunch, an early dinner or something, take a look at this thing, find out how much it costs. What does it look like? Is it really something that would work for our pool? We can look at it and take a look. And so if you're interested in going, Councilmember Watson, your seat's filled unless you tell me I can't go. But I need to know who else is going so that I know what kind of vehicle I need to get.
Shotgun, or how does that work?
She can get shotgun. If we get enough people that want to go, I'll rent a van and we'll run up there and we'll take a look at it. And so I'd like to do that in the next couple of weeks so that we can take a look and have some information. And because I may be a citizen for a very long time in the future, and I want to help this other new citizen, this coming new citizen, take a look at this thing and see what we can do. Thanks.
Hello, I'm Leah Alt and I'm a resident. I was also a swim and water polo coach for about 12 years. I will say, and in the state of Utah, it is a little bit shocking that the size of high school we have has to drive 20 minutes to use a pool. I haven't seen that anywhere else in the state. So it's a big sacrifice. And I want to make a point why that matters. Those kids that are a little more privileged, that have maybe 2 parents at home, have someone that gets up at 4:30 in the morning with them, those kids will get there. The kids that aren't privileged in that way cannot make that happen. And when you look at the statistics of what it does to communities, what it does to children, especially girls, when they are actively involved in these kinds of activities, the teen pregnancy rate drops, drug use drops, all kinds of misbehavior drops in our communities. And so I'm struggling with the concept that those that can get there are getting there, and that's a testament to the team and the quality of coaching. We have a bunch of kids going out there and making a huge sacrifice, their whole families. So that's not accounting for those that are maybe less privileged. And that's who we're missing on the team, those that maybe would have to walk, ride their bike, get there some way on their own. And those are maybe the kids that need it most. Through my years of coaching, I have found that there are kids that need wins in life. And they did not do soccer from the time they were 3 and pay thousands of dollars for clubs so that they could get on the team and do the thing that made them feel good in high school. There are tons of kids that just need to walk on a team. And there's nothing like swimming. You wouldn't believe the camaraderie it has. And there eliminates so many of those who paid the club thousands of dollars for their kid to play for 20 years before they got into high school. It's an equalizer. And I feel passionate about that. I've seen it change lives. My daughter needed a win a year ago, and she got on the water polo team, and it was a win. It was the win she needed. So I think there are kids missing out, and it's not those that are privileged. It is those that need to walk to the pool, and that's not possible for a lot of them. So I hope you take that into account. I also was thinking about Justin, and I know with just in future concepts, he'll probably have to be working more off the clock. If we aren't, we'll still go to him as citizens. We'll probably still go to him and ask him. He's going to be putting in some time. I don't know whether he's paid or not. So that kind of forces him into a citizen role. Just a thought. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
My name is Heather Chugg. I'm a Pleasant View resident. I'm kind of a two-part Utahn. We came out here when my dad retired from his Air Force career. I grew up in the East Coast, and every community that I was in, from Florida, Louisiana, Rhode Island, Virginia, there was a lot of community swimming. That's just what kids did in the summer. So then when we moved out to Utah, I joined the swim team, and so I'm here to represent Weber swim team from 91 to 95. Just kidding. But it was kind of crazy that there wasn't a pool because we'd never had that. So then oddly enough, I married a man who's also active duty Air Force. So then we moved away and we moved back because he was stationed at Hill. And my son, so 30 years later, just about, he was also having, or he was at Weber High, but also having to drive. And it just was kind of like having been different communities and then moving away and seeing how just other communities have figured out how to incorporate the aquatic facility for the lifespan for young kids, teaching safety with swimming with swim lessons, but also elderly with their senior citizen programs, because there's not just because aquatic obviously it's low impact, and a lot of times people that don't realize that maybe don't have the, because they've never had it, but even when they hurt themselves and go in for a surgery, there's not really many places close by that you can do low impact exercises, and that's a huge part of recovery. So sometimes when people are like, well, I'm so against it, like, well, thankfully maybe you haven't known how much you actually would benefit from it. So I think, like I said, just moving around a lot, different military communities, swimming and pools, and that is a huge thing. I mean, for one place that we were at in Arizona, the YMCA, they had a mom's triathlon, and the whole draw was moms that and it was around Mother's Day because it's Arizona, so it was still warm. But they encouraged a lot of moms that had never done anything with swimming to be on this triathlon, and they could take a kickboard and do it. And there was the master's program, and it's just it was a whole community that they drew people in that had no swimming background but joined it, and that was becoming part of their healthy lifestyle, and now they're lifelong swimmers, and that's what helps keep that aging lifestyle healthy. So I think there's a whole possibility that hasn't even been looked at. And I heard the donation part, but I know some of the pools that we'd been at in other places, the local hospitals and the wellness centers, they were huge sponsors and donation people for that. Sorry, I did have notes, but my phone died. So here we are, just winging it. And then this isn't really related, but just something to throw out there because I know that I have a kid that goes to Lomond View. As we know, Lomond View is getting looked at for possible closing and then farming those kids out to Orchard Springs and North Ogden Elementary School. And I think there just needs to be more people that write to the board and say, you might need to stop for a second and look at all the building that's taking place, because I know that the numbers were initially hazy on how many building and housing things are going in. And if we close down a school and overload or bring the other ones up to capacity, then what happens when we overload those schools with new housing and stuff? And then we end up spending a lot more money for a brand new school. So anyway, that's just my plug to throw it out there, the board to see, like, just pause this and let's see how those communities fill in and what that does to the school population right there. So anyway, hey, thanks.
You may want to know the school superintendent has visited with us and has visited with all the cities and has got information on future growth and where that growth will take. So
Oh, yes,
they
we
have
know
met
now.
and they are doing their research. So
Yeah, I know that when they made that proposal, like, because once they put it out there for the study, they did not have those numbers. So it's the Save Lomond View folks that are like,
they're working on getting it. So
oh, yes. Okay, thank you.
Mayor, I think our council rules are that we don't go past 9:30. It's okay that we're here still, but should we make it a worthy goal to try to be done by 10, or do we need to officially extend our time?
John, do we need to officially extend our time? I'm not sure we follow all the rules anyway. So
Well, no,
I'd like to hear
I
from them.
No, I totally want to hear from them. I'm just saying there's a
Yeah,
technicality.
I don't think Councilmember Dalpaz is saying, cut the meeting off. He's just wondering if we have to
Formally
officially
extend
I
it.
mean, in the past we have, you've taken a vote to say, hey, we're going to extend it for.
I move that we extend the meeting slightly and that we have a goal to try to be out of here by 10:15.
Is that a motion?
That's my motion.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilmember Barker, you still with us?
Aye.
All right.
I couldn't
thank
get
you.
unmuted fast enough. Sorry.
All right.
Thank you. I will be quick with my comments. I heard, thank you. My name is Heather. I'm a resident of North Ogden, worked with Mike at North Shore, myself. So I heard about this meeting today and was able to show up today. What I would like the council to understand is that I think that there is a lot of passion, and I think that there are a lot of options that have not been completely looked at. And all we're asking for is for a chance to explore all of our options and to present our options. Whether it passes or doesn't pass, all we're asking is for a fair chance for it to come forward. My family was pretty involved in 2007 when it was brought to a bond. We still feel like there was a lot of misinformation that was spread at that time. I'm asking that we do not do a flash poll. I think that that will skew results really thoroughly. I mean, you said no one under 30 is voting. Who are the families that are going to be using the poll? So I'm asking that we just are given a chance to collect all the data, to have kind of it spearheaded. I was really glad when it looks like it's going to be citizen-led. I think that this will give us a chance to hopefully do as much research and as much homework as we can. So that was my comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Arrington, I live in North Ogden. I don't think my comments are going to take you past 10 anyway. I just wanted to have some input. having listened to the presentations tonight, I think that since these people that talk don't understand this value that they have of doing some research, I would suggest that the city contact them and explain this to them and say, you know, it would go a lot further if you would take some effort and come with us some proposal. Because they're not used to doing that. The guy that talked about the dog park was, but all these people know is they want to have a swimming program. I think it would be helpful if you got their names, if you would contact them and say, to help your effort, this is what we need you to do. That's just a brief thought. And I appreciate, Mayor, that you volunteered as a private citizen to be involved in this, because you'll know both sides of the story. But seriously, I think that they need to know what you expect from them, because they're not going to do it. They've done what they thought they need to do, but their research would be helpful to you. Just one other thing. I appreciate the fact that you already own these houses up on 400 and have vacated them. And as a member of the fire board, I appreciate the fact that they're going to be around for training opportunities. That is invaluable for them. And I understand from some of my neighbors that a lot of the cops have already been up there and used one of them for some training, but that is invaluable for them to have hands-on things like that. So I appreciate you doing that, and look forward to watching it go on. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on the pool thing that I think would be helpful to the community.
I'll be quick. Sandy Cochran, North Ogden. As a member of the Weber County League of Women Voters, I've worked a lot of the forums in our neighboring communities, and it's gotten kind of sad how ugly it's gotten in some places. And I just want to commend the candidates and everyone involved in North Ogden. It bothers me that there's so much money coming from realtors, developers, and building associations. But other than that, they've been wonderful campaigns, and everyone's behaved well. So I just wanted to commend everyone running for office in North Ogden.
Thank you, Sandy. Anyone else tonight like to comment? All right. Anyone online, John?
Nope.
Okay. We'll have now comments from staff. Lieutenant, well, you have anything for us? Peter?
Just one more thing. While, we're looking at the pool, I was doing a little bit of research. I'm sitting here listening to this, and I think $3 million is a good estimate from what I've looked at. One thing to also note that if we don't want to use taxpayer money, we're going to have to find ways to find a net revenue of about $200,000 of additional money to pay for that if we don't have grants. So that's just something to note as I was looking, doing some research. Thank you.
Importance of interlocal agreements with other cities would be essential. Ryan, do you have anything you'd like to talk to us about tonight? We have 14 minutes left according to Councilmember Galpaz's motion.
Well, it was kind of a vague motion. It was 10, 10, 15.
I have no idea why it decided to shut down, but now it's back on. So, and our Zoom image is upside down, so that's fun. So,
I think those are signs, John.
yeah. Anyways, what are your thoughts, council? Is a election sign size large enough for?
We talking, that's the limit, kind of like that?
Yeah, that's kind of in the zones they're in. That's the limit.
And the reason that, part of the reason John's bringing this up is I specifically had someone from a vet reach out to me and ask about the potential because they probably had heard the presentation from the individual that came and talked about the dog park. And so I just wanted to see what everyone thought because it would make sense to me to start collecting donations through those science sponsorships while we figure out what the plan is, and we'll have that money earmarked for whatever future dog park is coming. I don't know. I don't know if signs need to be bigger than that. I have no idea.
What would you like to do, council? Would you like John to pursue a meeting with the planning commission to address the issue, or?
I don't think you need bigger signs for that. I mean,
Maybe we
political
could,
signs.
maybe we could start with just fundraising based off of that size of signs and have them. I don't know. We have to ask the businesses if they're okay with that. Because if they don't think it's worth it to have a 24 by 24 sign or whatever it is, then we
You're
would
talking-
have to explore it through planning commission. But
You're not talking, okay, you're talking about sponsorship.
yeah, so
banner,
they
not just a.
yeah, they have a banner up on the fence. I don't know if I still don't know if it's facing outward or inward towards that's another question. But yeah, as of right now, they could only have a 24 by 24-ish banner. And I don't know if that's worth it to them where it has to be explored through the planning commission to allow larger signs in the institutional zones. You usually see bigger signs than 24 by 24. That's why it's up for conversation. I don't feel passionately about the size. I'm just passionate about fundraising money towards that. It would be good.
Well, could we contact the gentleman who made the great presentation and see if he could speak with businesses because it's an advertising deal for them, right? And they may not care. So maybe we could get some feedback from him to see what his interface with the businesses are.
Yeah. I am glad to reach out to him unless if that falls under another
It's a park.
area.
Go
It's a
do it.
park. So park liaison, you're up.
Ryan Barker.
Ryan Barker. Are you okay with reaching out to the gentleman that did the dog park project and get an idea of if he's okay with that small of a sign, or to talk to businesses about what they feel would be needed?
Yes, and just because I missed the first part with Frozen Zoom, do we have interest in people buying signs, or is this just preemptive? We want to reach out and address this something before it's there.
Yeah, the only reason it's coming up right now is I had a resident / business in North Ogden reach out to me specifically asking if they could put a banner up.
Okay.
And then when I put it out to John, he just said, well, there's the limitation of size.
Okay. Yeah, I'll reach out.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Let's see, council, anything else you have tonight? Okay, I have nothing else. So at this point in time, I'd look for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.